All right, I'm back. Normal systems stuff and normal talking to you guys on the screen. So I will be sitting here now. I'm not co-working anymore. In fact, I like the co-working stuff, but probably not as much as kind of hanging out here and really talking shop with people. So we might still pull up some progress quests though, and still let that thing kind of spin around some of our other stuff that's going on. Let me make progress quest a little bigger. If you guys have never seen progress quest, it's actually designed to look like it's Windows XP, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Hey, how's it going? Happy Friday. It is Friday. So Friday is our chill day. We hang out, we talk shop, we work on stuff. Let me clear that up and come over here. And what we need to do, so there's a bunch of things we need to do in the home lab, a bunch of things we need to work on. But one of the things that I need to get going here is Unit 7 and 8 of our Linux Systems Administration course. So we have the first 7, yeah, so the first 6 done, and now we need to make 2 more, and we're going to make one Unit 7, and we'll make the next one Unit 8. Whoops. And yeah, this is what we're working on for now. So I'm going to start going in there and changing everything over and getting it ready. I'm going to release those. I'll probably do the actual recordings of them tomorrow during the day, and then we'll have the big meeting. So if you guys don't know, we've got a Discord. Discord's free. You guys are welcome to go hang out in Discord and do all the hanging out and stuff that you want. But we're about 3,000 members or so, and one of the main things we're doing right now, and one of the main things I'm running, is this 16-week Linux System Administration course. It's free. It doesn't cost you guys nothing. You can just hang out and talk shop and work with other, in this case, administrators, but people who are working towards that engineering type goal, right? So that's there for you guys that want to join that. In fact, let me pull up. I'm not as organized as I normally am, so let me organize a couple things here. Actually, I probably want to be over on multi-stream there. Let me grab a dashboard here and do some other stuff off stream. All the magic, right? Make sure I have the right stuff. I can see you over on that side. Let's see how the YouTube side of things is going. Make sure YouTube's all set up. Turn that on for YouTube, okay? And then one of the cool things about YouTube is they've got their own little chat, so that's good. So I can see people over there as well as over here, so that's good. All right, good. Okay, so there's a course. If you guys want it over on the Discord side of things, or over on the Twitch side of things, there it is. And then here it is over on the YouTube side of things. So boom. All right. So what I'm going to do, I got a few things to do. Every time I get into this, every time I pop into the course here in general, or the shell of any type as we're building up the stuff, is I need to go make sure all of the labs are good. I don't have good monitoring on the labs right now, so we're just going to do a bang for Ansible, and we're just going to check to make sure they're all up right now. All of our nodes that are out there, there's 19 Rocky boxes that you guys can jump into. Just make sure they're all up. All right. They're all responding. There's 2 users on Rocky 19. So I can go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bang that again, and I'm going to hit Control-Shift-R. And I'm going to go look for a message that I always send, which is, hey guys, we're going to go ahead and take all these systems down. Snafu, yeah, we're not working too hard. That's always the goal. But I just sent that message to all the nodes that just basically say, hey, we're gonna take all these nodes down real quick, and we'll give people a few minutes. There's one person. We'll give that person a few minutes, and then what we'll do is we will hit Control R and hit reboot. That's annoying. My system's locked up. There we go. Control-Shift-R, and then we say reboot. And we'll just go ahead and kick them all over with a reboot. So we'll get a reboot on all the nodes. We can watch them reboot again. For some of you guys that are kind of newer around here, we run XCPNG, and then all the lab boxes here are controlled by the Rocky. Oh God, guys, my brain. By the Werewolf daemon. And Werewolf is a cluster manager that can do all kinds of things. In fact, one of the big parts of this training I've been building has been to do like Werewolf clustering, and I think it would be a good thing for us to maybe go over in the professional Linux users group. I've shown you guys other ways to build clusters over the years, but it might be good to build one in Werewolf because it's kind of an up-and-coming, I don't want to call it an up-and-coming technology. It's been around 20 years, but it's gotten more popular because when CentOS went away, Alma Linux and Rocky Linux kind of spun off. And Rocky Linux is run by CIQ, which is the same people that run Werewolf. I think the owner's Justin Bernstein or something like that. Anyways, you can look that up if you guys care about that stuff. But for me, I want to watch these nodes boot. So we just rebooted them all. So I can come to the console and I can verify like, hey, this node is pulling down the components of its image. I can also come over here, and if that wasn't backgrounded, or I didn't background it, I could do a tail-f on var log werewolf d. And the werewolf d log will show me that my system is either pulling, in this case it was pulling a bunch of runtimes, or now after that reboot, all of my servers should start pulling their, should be actually their container images now. So we're going to see that happening here, like right above me, if we watch this. So this is one of these things, and I always tell you guys on the administration side of things, it'll make you better on the engineering side of things too. But on the administration side of things, one of the things we have to do quickly is be able to check our systems. And I have multiple ways that I can see the system and see what's happening in it. So I can watch that my nodes. If I want to make sure all my nodes are doing something, I'd be over here watching the logs, because then everything would be shown. If I wanted to watch an individual node boot because maybe 19 of them boot fine, but Rocky 15 gives me some kind of problems, I could jump into just its console and see just it happening, right? But over here, this thing it's definitely taken its time to go through the reboot. F20-M, yeah, it should be rebooting them. So they should be rebooting, and I should be able to see that happening. So this is one of these tasks as an administrator that you sometimes will have to do. And yeah, so by the way, for people who are again doing the course, again the course is free. Let me pull up Word, and let me pull up just that, which is our syllabus, right? So here's our syllabus for the next. So what are the next 2 weeks gonna be? And this is the syllabus. If you guys haven't seen it in a while, it's for the enterprise. We're doing it all online, right? There's a full syllabus for this course, by the way, guys. I said that you should be spending about 8 hours a week in the course if you're doing it. And some of you guys that have been keeping up, you know that it's been no joke. I think even my time to build the stuff that we've been doing has been pretty significant. But I think people are liking the learning and that kind of stuff. So hopefully that's good. Let me make sure I got, okay, I'm seeing everything there and there. Okay, good. So anyways, we come down here, course summary. What are we trying to learn? Course objectives. These are the things that you should understand by the end of this. But what are we doing for 7? These are the resources you need. You could do Killer Coda for free. You could run it locally if you wanted to. You do not need to do any of the labs that I've recommended. You could do them in your own environment. And then I have Prolog labs where you guys can have up to these 19 servers that you can connect into. How do you connect into those? There's a nice drawing here, streamer1@prolog.asuscom.com, and then you just need to get the password from our chats, right? You can find it down the Discord. If you need to, ask somebody and they'll give it to you. That's pretty much just distributed for anybody that wants it. When you jump into our environment, you jump into a jailed user, and then you jump over into the Rocky environments where you have certain abilities to do things. People that have been in the course have heavily been through this. People that have not been in the course, it's just a command shell. You can do whatever you want in there, right? Well, within the law. instructional plans. It's designed for 40 to 60 people. I was hoping for 40, and then like we kind of blew up a little bit, and then we had like 200 people say they were coming. We're at 207 say they're doing it. I'd say we have probably about like 40 coming every week still, and then we probably have about 10 people who are hardcore doing it. 10 people that are like hardcore, like finishing it and working together and doing that kind of stuff. And that's the goal, is to get you guys working on this stuff. If you guys haven't heard, like I don't I don't pull away from my engineering and my college professor duties to do this for the money, right? Like I do this stuff because I want you guys to come and be professionals and hang out. And it also keeps me sharp, right? Like doing this kind of stuff keeps me sharp, keeps me studying stuff. But I can assure you, if we turned the if we looked at it, this this isn't what I could most effectively be doing with my time. In fact, it's kind of funny. Me and the wife joke around about it a lot, but I'm like, well, but I love doing it, so we're gonna keep teaching the people. We've done all of October so far, and we have done all of these things. Let's make this. I'm gonna clean this up. I did this kind of lazy, and I've thought this whole time that it kind of looked like shit. So I'm gonna just fix it. Fix it now. Won't have to worry about it later. This is the plan here for the topics that we're doing. We're going to be doing, so the next, so I got to put together 7 and 8. So I'm going to do security, and then I'm going to heavily hit up scripting, which is fine. I have those labs already done. These labs will be, they're pretty much ready. I just got to transfer them over, which I'll be doing today as we're kind of hanging out here. If you guys have questions, this is, 12 minutes in. This is about the quietest my chat's ever been. So maybe when I first started, the chat was that quiet, but recently chat's been a little more busy. So this is what we're doing then today, or what I'm doing today. You guys are welcome to hang out and do whatever you want. 7 and 8, and then I got to start planning 9 and 10, because 9 and 10 diverge greatly from what I've set up or shown people how to do before. But I think I have some good ideas for what we can do in there that I think will show people some good, maybe some good skills in that space, and some things that a lot of this, again, like we were talking about, like a lot of this stuff starts to bleed up into engineering. Like even though we're doing a systems administrator course, like you guys have to understand system baselining and benchmarking and testing, because you're going to be doing those things as engineers, right? People are going to ask you to do these things. Hey Killa, thanks for the Prime. You could use that anywhere. Oh, that reminds me, my Prime came up as of today, so I'll probably go drop my Prime on like Fisherman or something. If you guys don't know Fisherman, he's one of our guys. Let me do a shout out for him. Shout out for Fisherman. Fisherman guy, bro. And whoops. There you go. If you guys don't follow him, his stuff tends to be pretty good. He does a lot of IT stuff. He does a lot of AI stuff as well. He was also in the Linux administration space for like 9 years, and he moved up to a manager. So he's got a unique perspective that I will never have. Some of you guys that know me, you're like, Scott just doesn't want to manage people. I don't. I fucking don't, ever. I will train people. I will walk people through steps of things. I will do other things. I will not answer for why you didn't come in on Friday at the appropriate time. That's not ever going to be something I will do as an engineer. I don't care when you came in. In fact, I've told you guys in the last 20 years I've never been late for work, because engineers show up whenever they want to, right? Like I'm not. That's not my concern in a lot of ways. All right. Oh, by the way, so we're seeing this thing pull its provision. We're seeing the nodes. They have booted back up, it seems, over here. If I had been watching, let me stop this. If I had been watching, we would have seen all of these devices coming up and grabbing their actual, these are their provision overlays. We would have been seeing them grabbing their CH roots and actually starting to pull their, yeah, this is all their their container images. So all their container images got pulled. So the environment should mostly be back up. So let's go look. We don't have to guess. We can always just go and say, well, do we have uptime of all the nodes right now? And did they all just reboot? Let's see. Yeah, Kill, I appreciate you being here. Look, 1 minute, 4 minutes. Those things have all been up. Yeah, 4 minutes now. So they all got rebooted. The environment's now clean. So if anybody is doing our labs, they are clean labs. I've been trying to kind of normalize it with people that have been hanging out. Make sure you just reboot your lab as you exit. Like instead of just typing exit, just type reboot and let it kick you out. And that's fine because that it's just almost like a little trap door. It falls, everything goes away, and then it comes up clean again, right? It's like a clean environment. That's how I designed these. They are stateless images. You can jump into them and you can do whatever work you want on them. And then when you're done, you just pop back off and you're done, you know? I mean, people were joking around about crypto mining. I'm like, I guess you crypto mine in them. They'd be fine. They're just very underpowered for crypto mining. You wouldn't get nothing out of it, probably like pennies. So it probably wouldn't really be much worth it. But, all right, so the environment's cleaned up. I got that. I'll start the process of moving those docs over for people that haven't seen me do that before. I'll start doing that. And then, yeah, other than that, I'm just kind of doing, I'm decompressing a little bit. I've been just, some of you guys that have been around for my co-working, I've been doing a massive amount of like training and building of these labs for, I got up to 37 total labs for my training the next 4 days. I have 256 slides, which is wild. That's a lot of slides. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have tried to talk to a group. I have got these guys for 4 days at 8 hours a day, right? And that's 32 hours. Like, you got to keep people interested and got to keep people involved with the stuff. So I've got the first day pretty well planned. I don't even think I'm going to get through all this stuff the first day, and that's good because then that'll bleed over into the second day. And then my fourth day is pretty light. I don't have nearly as much stuff for them, but I'm going to try to make sure that I give them enough to feel like they've got everything. Yeah, Paul, I appreciate you being around. It's been a while. I don't know. I know you're still somewhere in the Phoenix area, but I haven't talked to you in a while. But you guys are welcome to hang out while I work on stuff. Let's get some monitoring going too. I need my monitoring a little more well set up. Also, by the way, one of the things that I haven't been doing nearly as much that I need to start working with again is we've got another lab set up. If you guys don't know about the guacamole, we have a guacamole environment that you guys can jump into. Got to request it. This is access you have to request directly in the prologue. But this access looks like this. Oh, well, that's wrong password. And in here, you've got all these nodes over here, and recent ones will show up here. But if you needed a lab that was a little more persistent than those other boxes, or you needed, in this case, some of these nodes are doing kind of other stuff in here. This node here is Ubuntu 2204, so maybe you have a different use case. I know I talked to some of the people early on in the Linux Systems Administration course. If you're planning on doing something for your project, there's a big project in that course, and if you want to do something with a project that requires something a little more persistent than these guys that we can just wipe whenever we want, then let me know and we'll get you guys in there. But on that, I wanted to show you guys this. I work in the college I work for. I work for DeVry, and we teach out of a tool called IT Pro TV. And IT Pro TV's got some pretty cool stuff. But one of the things that I like that they do is they drop people into a full Cisco environment. And I was thinking about it. We're not a Cisco group. We're a Linux group, but some of the guys want a little more Cisco knowledge. So I could build my own version of a lab environment. Also, you can go on GNS3 and find that people got 100 different labs out here that they've already built. So it's like there's labs all over the place. But what I can do is I could give you guys access through this tool, And then you could get, so from Guacamole, yeah, you'd get a browser, but not to use the browser instance. We could actually give you I can give you a full VNC session off this too. So you're hitting a web page, putting in your password. That's just for this group, right? Container Lab? I haven't seen Container Lab. Yeah, you can have your cookies. See a life for orchestrating and managing container-based network labs. All right. That looks interesting. It looks like they've got some good technologies too that would be useful for people to know. Cisco iOS is big. You gotta know your Cisco iOS. I will definitely play with that, Diamond. That's interesting. But I know that I can give GNS access directly through. Well, I would do a so if you want to exit these, you just type exit and it kicks you out. Watch, it kicks you out, and then you go back to your home, and then you're back in your Guacamole connection to go jump into Lab 8. Is Lab 8 still up? No, I might not have these boxes up. Lab 6, is that up? I don't know why those boxes would be down. Dev environment. Let me go see. Is Lab 8 down for some reason? I didn't think I turned them off. Lab 8 looks like he's up. So I don't know why it wasn't able to connect. But anyways, here's Lab 6. He's got my little dev. You guys have seen my different environments I do. Is getting updated Cisco images. Yeah, Chris, that could be a thing. For me, for the most part, like especially if it's a Linux engineer that just wants to know networking a little better, I can get away with showing them a lot of show commands. Show IP table, show IP route, show IP address brief. Like I can, or show IP int brief, right? I can show a bunch of stuff like that, where then you're not really like configuring a device, you're kind of figuring out what's already set on there. So YouTube's algorithm is giving me some good content. Nice. Well, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We mess around here and we try to get people into this. But yeah, if YouTube's showing you this and you want to hang out, you guys are more than welcome to. We are just kind of working on some Linux. I've got a little bit of PowerPoint in the background, and that's what's showing you guys the text-to-speech. Everybody's always asking about the closed caption. I'm like, oh, it's just Microsoft Azure working really hard. How's it going, Colchis? Again, yeah, we're not working too hard, but I am going to be back on stream. Last week was kind of a weird fluke where I was mostly off stream doing co-working stuff. I got all those labs done. I was telling you guys I got up to 256 slides, 37 labs. 36, 37. I think it's 36 labs, actually, not 37. And then I've got a significant amount of talking that I will do to the different slides. And because I'm still going to have access, the guys haven't taken my access yet, so I don't think they're going to. Because we just did a 30-day like burn-in acceptance test. A lot of times customers will do that when you build a big high-performance compute for them. Like they'll do a you got to do what's called an ELT, which stands for effective load testing, I believe is typically what ELT stands for. And it's a 30-day. It's not a 30-day diddle. So if you guys know what a diddle is, that's diddle, not the word diddle, DITL, which is a day in the life test. So a day in the life test is a server or a set of servers in a cluster. What do they do on an average day? Well, honestly, in research clusters, it might not be as much. Sometimes it can be heavy load, but sometimes it's not. So this is more than that. This was an effective load test. We load tested the system up until 70% and then actually loaded it up and ran the entirety of the month at least 70% load on these servers to verify that they could handle it, verify that they were working. And you might say, well, why don't you call that a stress test then? If you guys don't know, a stress test in engineering is always when you break something. And if you fail to break something, you did not stress test it, you only effectively load tested it. So we're doing a load test because we do not want to break something, if that makes sense. We are actually proving that it can handle the load. It can take the weight. If you were buying a trailer and you said put 3,000 pounds in it, so I see that little sticker on the side that says can tow 3,000 pounds. When you drop the 3,000 pounds in it, it doesn't break the axles, right? Pounds. No, I meant like LBS, not the money thing. All right, whatever. I'm gonna just drink some more drink. Also, make sure I don't have anything going on. All right. So what do we got going? We are not working too hard, but we are kind of hanging out and doing Linux stuff, doing some Ansible. The lab's now cleaned up, so if anybody needs lab access, go down in the Discord. And here's the link for Discord if anybody needs it. Right there. Boom. Here's the Discord link. Oops. Go drop that on the YouTube side as well. All right. Pound Sig made me laugh out loud. Yeah, Paul, did you see it pop up as like the money? And I'm like, 1,000 monies. Also, Paul, have you been around? Have you heard what I'm doing next week? All right. Who wants to hear how I know I'm terrible? And most of you are going to agree that I'm terrible when I tell you this. So, Ranger's my dog. Ranger's laying on his bed over there. Yeah, so next week, Paul, I am gone. I am out of town from the 28th. Yeah, like the 28th through the 2nd. Well, the 27th through the 2nd, really. And I'm training people for 4 days in Hawaii on the system that I built. But hold on. Ranger's 13th birthday is Tuesday. So I'm going to be gone for my dog's birthday. I'm a terrible. I'm not that terrible, but I'm a little terrible. Yeah, C-Byte, just hang out. You know, we talk shop, engineering, and there's different ways to become an engineer. I'd say the number one way that most people think is to go to college, right? Obviously, go and get some formal training. The number two way is to just sit with the engineers, hang out with a group of other people that are doing this stuff. Find yourself an open source community. Find yourself something like our Discord. Go, you guys see Ranger. Go get on like Measure Slack or something like that if you like doing data analytics, and find other people doing this stuff. So, yeah. I missed. I don't know the context, Diamond. But anyways, so on the. Oh, yeah, but anyways, I'm missing Ranger's birthday. Well, because Ranger's old, you know, so, like, I got to be there for Ranger's birthday, man. He's the star of the show. I just kind of hang out around here. That's who cares, in case you guys are wondering. I mean, Ranger's the man. But anyways, he's a good dog. He is obviously not working too hard either. All right, so let's get some other monitoring going. Let's pull some monitoring stuff up. Let's get our... What's our net system looking like here? Something broke in my home lab, and I need to go spend some time and figure out what's happened. But like, if you look in the last, let me not even tell you guys. I'll just go show you. In the last 30 days, look at what CPU usage and memory usage look like in my cluster, and tell me if you knew nothing else about what was going on. And you looked at these two right here, this and this right here, and you knew nothing else about what was going on, would you kind of notice that there's a pattern that has decidedly shifted as of, you wouldn't know the exact day, but as of the 13th, so about a week and some change ago, almost 2 weeks ago, this pattern of always going high once a day on both CPU and memory stopped. So something changed in my environment, presumably on that day, that now it no longer... Yeah, something's definitely busted. But I can give you guys a little more context because I'm the guy who runs the systems. On that day, well, let me tell you what's been sending... All those days where it is going up, my P01 Jump 01, which is my persistent jump box server in my environment that I kick things off from, has keys and can go everywhere. That box every morning at 3:14 a.m., according to Etsy cron.daily, right? That's cron.daily runs at 3:14 a.m. without any other things in there. It kicks off an antivirus scan with ClamAV against my whole environment. And the way it does that is it kicks off against each of the systems and backgrounds a clam scan. And when that clam scan is done, information is pushed up into InfluxDB through a script. I can show you guys the script if you want. And what you're seeing there is the pattern of those devices going under heavy load for between 30 minutes and an hour or 2 hours, depending on what device they are, as they scan themselves. That's what it is. Yeah, so my antivirus is not scanning my environment anymore. That's one thing that could have happened. The other thing is the tool might not be open, might not be reporting. Something else might be blocking that because now the question is, well, how do you get that data? How is that data being ingested? If I come over here and I go to like our monitoring, this is our monitoring in the system, right? I know that data is either coming from a telegraph agent or a Promtail agent, that's logs, so it's not that, or it's Node Exporter. So Prometheus is scraping Node Exporter or Telegraph is pushing data. And the way I would figure that out is I would come here and I'd actually go look at the query. And this query tells me that it's going against the bucket Telegraph. So actually there's something else going on. Let me show you this. Some of you guys were on stream here the other day. Let me clear this up, clear that up. And let's SSH to InfluxDB2. That's the node 2 in my environment. And let's go see if we do a df-h on him. He's not out of memory, but the original one, if we go back to the other one, InfluxDB as the original server, which I think is what that's still reading off of, he's now Loki as well. If we do a df-h, some of you guys remember that I filled up his memory the other day, or I filled up his disk space the other day. In fact, I added a disk on stream, and he's almost filling that up again as well. So something's going on in my environment that is causing that, because see, this is starting to show some data again. So Telegraph or InfluxDB is working. Right, Influx. Well, hold on a second. Is Influx down? No, that shouldn't be. Is that not? I wonder if I'm... This is the 180 box. Yeah, that's the original Influx box. So why... Let's go look. This guy is off of 181. So let's go look at this connector here. So this is running off of the InfluxDB default connector here. That's what this thing says. So if I come back over here and I go look at the connectors, let's go look at the data sources. They don't call them connectors in this older one. We'll just discard it. We don't care. And that one's 180. Yeah. So if I go here and he's 181, which means that he's 180. 180, boom. ss-ntulp grep for 8086. It's not, so they're not, that's weird because it's not reading any data. So system ctl, system tl. This thing doesn't even have, that's weird. I'm not even seeing that this box is reading. That's strange. But this is the one. This is the one that we added the disk to the other day. That's strange. Color me perplexed. So what was causing it to go up never goes up, and nothing is cleaning up that. Yeah, so something had filled up. Yeah. So what definitely happened was something had filled up my... The question comes from the YouTube side. First guess some service has crashed somewhere. Yeah, this service... and what else my dashboard's at? Or are we looking at the wrong... No, that shouldn't be it. Yeah, this is the new one. And... Go back to 30 days. Hold on, guys, I'm getting a message over here on something. Such a weird message. Hold on a second. All right. Yeah, super weird. Because how would any data... It's got InfluxDB running. To a version. DPKG, I guess. Is this? See, I don't even remember how my. I thought this was sent to us box. DPKG-L grep for influx. Okay, so this has two. But even this guy, his telegraph, so it's CD to Etsy telegraph. His telegraph is still writing out to InfluxDB over there on 8080. So we're still using the original one, but that box doesn't have InfluxDB on it anymore. So P01 Jump 01 is not filled up. It's a box InfluxDB that's filled up. My jump box is not filled up. Somebody over on Twitch said, how do you compare virtualization software like Proxmox, Incus, XCPNG, whatever? I mean, it depends what your level of effort is and what you're working on. I mean, in the professional space, most people are using ESXi and VMware type stuff, but people are moving off of that heavily because of what Broadcom's doing and going 4 to 10 times as much per year and subscription costs. So some companies are moving off to like Proxmox and that kind of stuff. RXYOG, could you tell us about your system? Sorry if it's a repeat question. No. It's not a repeat. In fact, I go over the lab pretty often for people. I have behind me a half rack of servers. There are 3 physical servers in there. They are all running XCPNG. So those are the physical servers. On them, they have a bunch of virtual machines running that are built with all variations of Linux. It's mostly CentOS and Ubuntu nowadays, but I've been building a fair amount with Rocky. If you count all the lab boxes, it's mostly Rocky nowadays. The way the lab environment works is I have an NFS ISO export library where I have all these things that we can mount. So if we want to build out Kali, we could do it. If we wanted to build out any of these other versions and stuff here that we've built over the years. My home lab has a whole bunch of monitoring built into it, which is apparently broken because I haven't been paying attention to it. And that monitoring architecture looks like this. Oh, yeah. So that should have been, that usage that you're seeing, that flatlined, that should be, that was on the InfluxDB. So my actual InfluxDB server, no, that's InfluxDB 2. Wait a minute. Hold on. Who was at 100%? InfluxDB 2. Oh, that's interesting. Alright, I gotta go check some of my other nodes too. Nope, don't want that one. In fact, let me close that out so I don't pull that up again. Hold on a second. Here, guys. I want to make sure that doesn't come up again. Okay. Wait, hold on a second. I gotta find, where is my... So this is now it's bugging me. So InfluxDB, and Loki have always run off of 180. So if I SSH to Influx, which is the original name of the server, it'll call itself Loki. Oh, mother effer. So we were not sending stuff over there. So hold on a second then. This is bugging me. So we're gonna make this thing big for a second. Hold on, guys. Edit. What fuck? Okay, that is off of InfluxDB2. All right, so that does make sense that all crashed then, and then we need to make sure that that's back where. Okay, that's. I was sitting here going, what the hell? Like, I know what the architecture of my lab's supposed to be. Well, I think I know the architecture. You guys gotta remember, if I don't work in my home lab for a while, which I obviously didn't pay attention to this for a while, this is what we get. So let me make sure some things are running. Systemctl status influx db. So it's just called Flux. No. All right. But now, all right. Well, whatever. Yeah, Proxmox isn't a bad thing. A lot of guys are using Proxmox. A lot of companies are moving over towards Proxmox. I didn't get rated, did I? Feels like there's a lot of people here for not being rated. So, I don't know. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. Oh, it looks like a lot of people on YouTube. So, well, hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. Yeah. It's great to watch me be a madman and run around in my lab. I haven't, man, guys, I haven't been playing in my lab for a while. I've been focused so much on that training stuff. But so let's see, hold on. This still is bugging me. Like, why? All right, but we also gotta go check on the box that I actually care about the most in the environment. Host box is the most important box in my environment, and for some reason it says he's at 100%. So how is he so full if yeah, why is Hostbox so full? I'm not sure what's going on. 42 on YouTube, definitely blessed by the algorithm. Yeah, you know what's funny though is, like, YouTube does some weird. I've never had a lot of people on YouTube when I'm live, but like sometimes YouTube will get picked up, and it tends to be, I think, the name of whatever you call it, because the most popular video I ever had on there blew up to like 250,000 views, and it was me saying something along the lines of I think it was like beginner to expert Linux or something, and we were just doing a bunch of Linux labs. We have a bunch of Linux labs on Killer Coda. Those labs are free for you guys if you want. Let me pull that up for you. Labs, and if anybody wants to go check out those labs on the YouTube side, they are always free on Killer Coda. That site's one of the best things ever because there's nothing going on in there. Yeah, we're gonna check var log here in a second too, but this is a weird something's going on here. So front camera went to 100. Oh, I bet it's because yeah. So front camera's at 104 gigs. So I know why it is. So whoops, I don't know what's wrong with me. So we'll go to front camera. Guys, you gotta remember I'm losing it. All right, so and I'd be so I'd be willing to bet if I were to look at these. We'll du-sh everything. All these ones before were relatively small. No, it just looks like we got. No, it just looks like we filled up over time, unless there's one really big one of these. Upload. All right, so anyways, I need to find. Let's look for the one that's in gigs. I probably will compress some of the older files. I guess I just didn't realize that this was filling up that much. We don't need the older files. We do other stuff with them. I didn't realize they were nearly this much all these days. I didn't realize this was filling up like it was. So we're gonna clear out. We'll just, if we wanted to keep, like, let's say that we wanted to keep this last year, right? So W equals VA. Very, very clever. Yeah, I actually was tracking it right here. I just wasn't doing anything with it. So yeah, there you go. Very, very clever, by the way. Let's go with ls grep-v for 2024. So we'll get rid of any of those. So we'll get rid of all the other ones. And yeah, he probably thinks something like watch. And then we'll go here and we will just say for, I don't know, file in its directory really, but directory in that. Do echo I am deleting $sign directory. Done. So we delete whatever directories. That's perfect. That's what we want. And then we're going to delete them. Yeah. rm-rm. Delete the directories. All right. We'll just go clear those all. Those are all old files. I don't need any of those. I'm surprised that we had gotten that full. About halfway through 2023. I'm gonna stop that. df-h. How are we doing? All right. We've cleared up enough. we've got plenty of extra space now. We should watch this in real time, because that is going to be in real time. That's going to drop back off. Last 7 days, boom. There we go. So there's Hostbox down at 40%. Good. That's what we want. Can we... Hold on. Alright, yeah, we'll give that a little bit of time there. Alright. So. I got way too much stuff going on over here. And I'm hardly even watching stuff because I'm working over here. So. That's going to clear up. But that still doesn't answer why this is going off of the other data source. That old data. It's going off the... That's the old one. This is the new one. And that's correct. That's the one that one's working off of. But if that node... Oh, did the name just not change? That's what it is. That's what it is. That's why it's coming up different. Oh, geez. There we go. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That node's fine. Should play the folder once a month. Yeah, I probably could do something like that. Clean it out once a month or something, but... Yeah. There we go. All right. Yeah, it's more of I get busy and I don't keep an eye on what's going on in the home lab. So I have all the monitoring in place. This is an important engineering lesson, right? It doesn't matter if you have all the monitoring in place if you never look at it. But yeah, we've got the lab. The lab's a lot healthier now, and these should start coming back correctly now that InfluxDB is doing better. So logs and apps. We should see. These are all the failed logins for people trying to get into my home lab. Right, because people are constantly trying to bang on that door and get in. And then here's my security. Here's all the people that have been banned over time into the environment. So we're doing good. Although my DNS queries are not showing up. Those are also coming through in InfluxDB. This definitely has Influx running. We restarted it 2 days ago. Things should be going fine on there. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So that's good. That's fine with what we're doing. We'll let that spin over there. And then what I need to do is I need to start getting the training put together for the next few days. So I'll pull up Unit 7 stuff, and I'm going to switch everything in Unit 7 over, or Unit 6 over to Unit 7. Let's see. Change the names. How's Ranger doing? Ranger's doing good. Get that going. So that's all the Unit 7 stuff. And then I'll pull up Unit 8 next. Yeah, Kevin, you're right. There's it's a hard thing. Monitoring and alerting are two. You know, professionally I tend to have teams that do the SOC or the NOC work for me. I don't have to worry about actually physically looking at things. But in the home lab, obviously I haven't been in there. I mean, we've been looking at some of that stuff, but I didn't realize how high it was getting and how close to filling up it was. So there was definitely some risk there of data loss in my environment. All right, hold on, let me move this. Let me change this over. Yeah, guys, I've been in some chatty alerting environments over the years too. Some of the earliest, or some of the early Nagios days, when we used to use Nagios and what's the other one called? RRG. What was it called? RRG tool. Somebody knows. It's the one that Cacti uses. And that's not, Cacti is not well supported anymore, but it's still kicking. So, I've been monitoring Linux systems almost as long as I've been using them, with everything from Nagios to all kinds of different stuff. But what are we working on though right now? We're not working too hard. That's number one rule of all this, and because it's Friday, right? It's Friday afternoon. We're kind of like Ranger down there, just kind of hanging out, and then the things that I have to do are get ready for our Unit 7 and 8 of Linux Systems Administration course. Yeah, I do have Nagios in the environment. That's kind of a little bit of a joke there, but no, I don't use Zabbix. RRD tool, that's exactly what it was. No, I don't use Zabbix. I use Nagios in the environment. But Nagios was kind of a proof of concept because I've run Nagios professionally, God, probably over 20 years now. And in my home lab, it's funny, it's monitoring a bunch of old systems that really aren't being used anymore. Most of those boxes are down. But it just sits here with the Ranger cam and just, which is a pass-through on Grafana, which you really can't do anymore. Yeah, Cacti RRD. And it's funny, I met one of the last guys supporting it a few years back. For you guys that come to the Linux group, if you're ever in the professional Linux users group Discord, we had Ashton come out one time. Ashton's been with Red Hat for like 8 years or something. Oh, shoot, maybe even longer. But anyways, Ashton came out and he was telling you guys all about this stuff. And one of the things when he came out one time when I worked at AAA and he was like our liaison, I think he might have even been like our solutions architect would be what you would call him. And he brought a guy with him out one time that like was still one of the last supporters of Cacti, and I was like, that's pretty cool because I've used Cacti for some pretty cool monitoring over the years. So yeah, I've heard of Datadog. I haven't used Datadog. I've used of the professional ones. I've used obviously Prometheus and Node Export, all kinds of exporters and stuff, Slurm exporters, all these other tools. I haven't set up Datadog, but that other one that's similar to it. I've set up deployers with Ansible with that, so some company was using it. Yeah, that's where a lot of us get most of our cool experiences, the company we're working for. Oh, Diamond, you said Prometheus SNMP exporter is good for networking? Nice. Yeah, I do. Shoot, I set up a cluster just recently where we were actually still sending our syslog. I prefer to go to like Loki or something, but you can't always, I don't always pick the architecture. In fact, a lot of times when my company brings me in, architecture's already set, the building of things is already done. They bring me in to secure things. I tend to do a lot of stigging of architecture and making, like, basically they've made the system work, and now I've got to tear the system back and get it secure without breaking all the shit that works. And that's kind of a thing that I've proven to be pretty good at, even though it's a super stressful. It gives you a lot of gray hairs. That's one. And then the other one that I do a lot is training. So I build a lot of training for other engineers and stuff. App Insights, nice. No, not Datadog, but what's the other one that's if Pessa was around, Pessa would know. What's that other tool? Datadog's real big. Hold on, I can just find it right here with what are we looking for? It's hold on, Grafana integrations. Let's see if we can just find it'd be on the list of these common Grafana integrations. I keep in my head, I keep thinking Radix, but I know it's not Radix. Radix is a security tool. Hold on. It'll be on top of monitoring software. Dynatrace is one that I've set up. So Dynatrace, New Relic, I've set up New Relic too. So New Relic and Dynatrace, I've deployed them via Ansible. I've not deployed Datadog via Ansible. Zabbix we've played with. SolarWinds, I absolutely detest the model. So I wish people wouldn't use it anymore. Like, everybody got burned a few years back and they're still free. Oh yeah, I've used a lot of Splunk. Dome, I've often said that I think Splunk should just have I think that their logo should just be you, and it should be your face on the person, and they should be pushing a wheelbarrow full of money towards a hole. That's what Splunk should be. Although Splunk is the, like, it's the premier tool. that there is. I mean, when you got money to spend it on Splunk for sure. Splunk will tell you shit's wrong that you didn't even know you were sending that info to it. Like, if you go look at a Splunk dashboard and you've been sending data in, it'll be like, hey, you know, you only get like 63 of these logs normally, and you're up to about 110,000 today, so you might want to go check on that, buddy. And you're like, I didn't even. And then, like, management's patting you on the back, and you look like Michael Scott in The Office, where he's just standing there getting an award. He doesn't even know what the hell he's doing there. That's kind of what you feel like. But yeah. There's a bunch of these. There's a bunch of tools like that are good. But Splunk is a premier one, but it costs money, man. I'll tell you guys, if any of you guys are veterans, though, and I know they're still probably doing this program. They announced it about a year and a half ago. Splunk has like an online academy, and if you're a veteran of any like U.S. type armed forces, I realize there's people from around the world, but U.S. type veterans get all their training free. So if you want to do any Splunk training, it's free for you if you're a veteran. I don't know if you guys know that, but Wazoo is nice. Yeah, people were telling me about Wazoo the other day. The other one that I need to set up in the lab for all you guys that are popping in the Linux clusters all the time is Zeek. If you guys haven't used Zeek, Zeek is pretty cool. Yeah. So let me show you guys the let me make sure I'm not lying to you, but yeah, Splunk training for vets. I know they had a thing for a long time. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still active, but it's like they're doing free veteran training for people. So if you're looking to get into that and that's something that you're interested in, yeah, like I should probably keep a list. I keep a list of all the free training that I know of, but if people were interested in the Prolog Discord, I didn't know Wazoo had Zeek in it. I've just used Zeek, like I've just used the raw Zeek platform, and I'll tell you guys, Zeek is pretty effing good to start. I think we were looking at Wazoo I don't know how to say that, Waza, because it's a complete seam. Whereas like in my home lab, I throw data to Loki, and Loki's awesome. It's an API endpoint that just sits there. It's like just an API endpoint that's ready to accept whatever connections, and you can set up certificates and that kind of stuff if you want to, but you don't, strictly speaking, have to. But Loki, without like a tool querying it, which we can query it with Python and other things like that, but then we'd have to go build our own apps. I'd rather just have something that does this and is like, yeah, hey buddy, you notice that that this is kind of getting a little weird. One of our guys, this was actually kind of fun, Fisherman, who does a lot of AI stuff, he was taking logs in from Linux systems and he was feeding them into he builds a lot of LLMs. In fact, he shows you guys how to build LLMs if you guys ever want. He's got some labs that show you how to build them. But he was taking LLMs that had the biggest character limit, and he was taking blocks of his log data, and he was sending it into and telling it to just aggregate it for him and tell him, like, can you summarize this for me and find any errors and stuff like that. And it would summarize and say, you've had 5,000 entry requests, and you've had 400 users that actively logged in correctly, and it just had all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah, Gun, any of that kind of stuff is I think good. Like I'm also a vet, but I try to leave that stuff for the other guys. Like I'm a pretty successful guy as far as engineering and college. I've been a college professor for 16 years on top of being an engineer for 20 plus now. So I try to leave that stuff for the other guys, but I try to tell people about it as much as I can. Yeah, Lunatic, he had a pretty good, he streams. So if you guys want to find him, Fisherman is on, he's on YouTube as well. Easiest way to find him is join our Discord though. If you guys join Discord, and then you can find Fisherman on there. In fact, his bot welcomes you to the server. So some of you guys that don't know that, it's Fisherman's bot. He's Fisherman Guy Bro, and the bot is named Fisherman Guy Bot. That's the bot that actually tells people about, like, you can ask it questions. It'll answer you questions. It's pretty rude though. But let me show you guys this. We have this in the Discord as well. There's obviously the course that's going, but if you go down to our thing and you go to like beginner start here, I keep a list of a bunch of free certs that are out there. And one of our guys went and got this cert the other day, and I think it like opened up a lot of people thinking, oh, that's interesting, I could go do that. Because we have a study guide for the API Academy that will help you pass. There's 3 certs. API Academy is a pretty cool little the certs look like this. This is how you get in there or whatever. But let's see if we can just look at the API Academy for a second. This is asking me for that. Let's see if we can just get to there. Maybe I'm just on like the wrong. They have to have just the basic. All right. Well, anyways, so the point is, that's a legit thing, and it was owned by Broadcom. I don't know if they got rid of it or whatever, but one of our guys put together again a pretty good little Pathfinder guide on how to do that, and it's pretty good. So you guys are welcome to hang out with us and do that kind of stuff. There's Chaos Engineering, which everybody always likes. Chaos Engineering. There's the Six Sigma and the Lean Six Sigma white belts. These are all certs that are free. So if you guys just need to like pop up your resume, and your resume is just, you know, either you don't have education or you don't have experience, you can go start getting some experience by doing certs. And I know, look, I'm of the same thought process as many of you. Certs aren't the end all be all. There are, you know, doing the work, showing that you know how to do the work, building portfolios and projects and stuff. I think those are all real valuable. But not everybody, you know, has the time or the money to go get certs. Not everybody's got the time or the money to spend 4 years more in college to get some of these things. So my point is, get as many positive differentiators as you can on your resume, as many things that set you apart from the other people in a positive way. Not like felonies and big long work histories. Those are negative differentiators, and you don't want those. We also have down here, we've got a Linux Systems Administration course. That's what I'm going to be working on here in a little bit, is 7 and 8. So unit 7 and 8. We've already done the first 6 units. They're all up here. They're down here in our Prolog projects, and you guys can go in there and look at all the materials and choose if you want to participate or not. It's about 8 hours a week of work, though. So the people that are doing it, they would tell you it's not easy. It's not designed to be easy. I've kind of the hanging out in the Linux professional Linux users group is easy. Not being challenged is easy. I wanted that course to be a little harder, and I wanted people to feel like they had earned something. We're going to give a certificate at the end, and I don't think there's going to be too many people that finish that course because there's a lot of, it's challenging, right? Number one thing for resumes is good. I think portfolios are great too. Show people you know how to do stuff. All right, so I guess the lab's clean enough for now. So let's go. Oh, we got a little bit of progress quest in the background there. Let's, here's the syllabus for people that do want to do that course with us. Again, we're up in 7 and 8 right now. So we're talking about patching the system. I wonder if we have, I need to go look at Rocky's capabilities for live system patching, because that might be some interesting stuff. You guys can do, in the labs, if you ever jump into our Prolog labs as part of this course, you could do anything you want on those boxes. You can update them, you can do whatever. When you reboot them and come back, they're going to be clean back to the original stateless image, right? So I'm going to probably have you guys do some patching and stuff like that. I might have you guys do a couple of our labs. So there's some labs over in the Killer Coda that talk about how we install packages and how we clean them up for environments, that kind of stuff. And then we'll do some scripting, we'll do some systems checks and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess I'll get in there and do that. Literally scan their resume and immediately ask questions about things that seem out of place or obscure. Yeah, Lunatic. So for some of you guys that haven't been around, let me tell you guys a little bit about my background. I've been a Linux engineer for a long time, been a college professor for a long time, and one of my many things that I always get drug into is, let me pull up our presentations here. So here's our presentations. I always get drug into interviewing people. I've interviewed well over 350 people now in my career, and I'll show you guys. This was like an example. We wanted to get a senior site reliability engineer. We wanted to, this other thing out of the way, put that down, get that out of the way. Where's that other one at? Hold on. Yeah, get that out of the way. That's the one that's in the background. Okay. All right. So I've done a lot of interviews in my time, and I've had a fair amount of engineers that I've worked with, and one of the things that I do is they always bring me in for the technical interview. I'm always the guy asking the technical questions. What NAS software do you use for home? I'm looking at TrueNAS currently. M. Litzy over on the Twitch side asking about what kind of NAS software I run. So I'll show you. Hold on. So my systems, I have a system that I care about, Hostbox, and Hostbox is the one that we just cleared up. His root directory had been filling up, and I hadn't been paying attention. So this box here has these. It has ROMs and data and ISOs. Those are actually the data things that I care about. And there's two things that this box does. You can think of it almost like it's holding two connections. One of them is show mount-E. It is being an NFS exporter to anything in my environment. I could limit that down, but I just let anything connect to it. The other thing that it does, hey Jake Sack, how's it going? The other thing it does is if you do a test parm, which I love that because it looks like test parmesan, which is funny because I don't even like Parmesan cheese that much. But if you test parm is all one word? Yeah. It's your Samba, right? I don't know why I had a space in there, but it'll show you how it's exporting for Samba. So you say, okay, well that's interesting. The same things that you have are for NFS and for Samba. Why in the world would you do that? And I say, well, because of this. If somebody asks me right now, hey, Scott, don't anybody do this because I'm not going to do it right now. But if somebody were like, Scott, could you download Kali, the newest version of Kali, and could you check it, make sure that it's got the right hash, the SHA-256, something that they give you, okay, check. Could you then load it up into your Linux environment, your lab environment, and could you deploy it pretty quickly? And I'd say, yeah, but the pattern would look like this. I would download it on this machine that I'm talking to you guys on, and I would then go, and some of you, and it's actually funny when it happens, are like, oh God, it's Windows. Windows doesn't matter to a professional, right? Like when you're doing professional shit, not amateur stuff, and we're trying to be professionals, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if you got into this Twitch stream or YouTube stream by being on Chrome or Firefox or Safari. I don't care. The tool with which you do a thing doesn't matter. But anyways, I could go and I would upload it from here to my ISOs, right? And then as soon as it touched ISOs here, it would be over here. And then I would pull it up in my device here. And let's say I wanted to change Lab 8 over. And immediately that Kali box that I had pulled down would be shared out between my environments like that. So one box stands in the gap as both an NFS server and a Samba server. Samba, server message block that comes from Microsoft in the early 90s to communicate with Linux and Unix style systems. It was Unix at the time. Linux was around, but Microsoft wasn't thinking about Linux yet. Unix style systems, and you could, it was around in the early 90s. It's just that they didn't like, Microsoft wasn't even thinking about it. It can communicate with those boxes. So then if I push something up to Samba from my Windows machine, it's immediately pushed over and it's exposed on the NFS share. This has what's called a NFS, look, if we go on our storage, it's got an NFS ISO library that's reading that NFS in real time. And then I can go to any of my environments, any of my boxes, and say, when you boot this Lab 9 server, go ahead and put Rocky 810 in it. And then that will be attached as an ISO out of that NFS, even if I just uploaded it from a Windows machine. So it's all about how you move your data and that kind of stuff, and how you move between your environments. And I'm going to tell you, the longer you do this stuff, the more you're going to have to move things between Linux and Windows and all of these different things, because your productivity suite is going to be different than your engineering stuff. And you guys that have been around long enough know I live here. This is what I do all day, every day at work. I mean, I'm literally in here unless I'm pulling stuff out for presentations. Well, look, guys, I mean, you know, I realize we'll have some Linux enthusiasts that love Linux desktop, but I'm just going to tell you, I've used Linux desktop over the last 20 years. There's not very many good ones. And then the productivity tools on top of that in general are garbage, right? And why I'm shitting on that is because if it were better, I would use it. But it's the same reason why Exchange is still used in every company out there, because Exchange is good. Why is Active Directory still used everywhere? Because it's pretty good. It works well. So anyways, all right. Like there's certain things that they just happen to do better over there. Things they do terribly, SharePoint. SharePoint's one of the worst things I've ever seen. But all right. So look, this was a technical interview that I was supposed to give. I don't mind putty. But here's the thing, right? Here's to be fair, I get that there's a lot of cool other tools. I only care that I have Screen or Tmux. As long as I have this, I don't care about this. I'll kill that thing off left and right because I know that I can reconnect. Like in fact, this was our talk last week on Linux System Administration. I had the guys doing Tmux and Screen, and the reason was because I wanted them to understand that you can jump back into an environment anytime, anywhere in the world. I have servers that I work on for government contracts all over the world, which is kind of funny, the US government, but all over the world. Now I can see, I should have done screen-ls. That was the right one. And I can see, here's my streaming one that's detached, so I can do a screen-r73684. And now I'm exactly back on that window that I was just talking to you guys in, even if I had disconnected. So like when I'm in Hawaii next week doing this training, I'm giving training next week for one of my contracts, one of my government customers, and I will be able to jump into my home lab from remote. And actually, it's funny, this box, one of those other, so if I did one of these that's out here, screen-ls here. Oh, fuck it. Control AC. If I showed you this one and this one are actually connected for work purposes, and then they jump over to another box in my environment. One of these boxes, I want to say, I don't remember which box it is. I'd have to go look. I'd find it in there. I think it's the Prometheus server. I'm not sure. But I use him as my VPN connection out to a bunch of different stuff too. So if I ever need to like Bastion kill all of my connections out somewhere, I can do that from him. But then he is VPN'd into a bunch of boxes, and then I've got screen shells in there, right? So if I did drop those connections, I could bring it back up, reconnect over my VPN, and get my shells back. I hate losing shells, guys. It's one of my, just disgusts me when I lose a shell. Why do I prefer XCP-NG over Proxmox? I don't actually. That's what I originally built. And I don't even know if Proxmox was around back when I originally built this. But this has just been the one that's worked for me. The guys are trying to get me to go to Proxmox all the time. You'll find that I'm just like, ugh, that looks like a lot of work when I'm already done with work for the day. Like, I'm done with work for the day. In fact, I'm chilling until Sunday when I fly out to Hawaii, and then I teach all day, or teach all Monday through Thursday. Me and the wife are hanging out on Friday, and then we're coming back on Saturday. So the wife's going out there with me because she's got big FOMO. She doesn't like to miss things, so she wants to hang out with me. All right, which I don't blame her, right? All right, anyway, so let's look at how do I objectively, so if you tell me, hey, Scott, I need your help to figure out the right candidate for a job. And again, I've sat in over 350 technical interviews. This is the way that I do it. So what would happen is I would say, okay, you guys already know the position. By the way, I get called in even from other teams sometimes where they're like, hey, we know that this is like a network position or this is a security position, but will you at least come sit in and talk to these people? You know, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I have this is kind of my 5-point, this is my way that I do testing as well. So if you ever see me talk about my testing methodology, which by the way, I think is actually in this talk. Yeah, so if we did the Linux System Administration, you'd see this again, but we'll do that later. So I come over here. I always talk about the purpose. So what's my purpose here? What's in scope and out of scope? So scope is what are we doing? Technical questions to determine capability to execute on the job duties. I had a boss early on in my career that told me, Scott, there's 2 things I want to know in an interview. Can the person do the work? That's pretty easy to determine for most of us. Most of us know within about 5 minutes if somebody's firing on the same number of cylinders as us. And 2, and I think that's true for everybody, and 2 is will they do the work? And will they do the work is very, very different. Like, I know really smart dudes that have no interest in doing anything. And well, now people are smart and they can pass all the certs and pass all the tests. But if they're just like a derf ball that you can't trust to do something unless you're like actively driving them every 30 minutes, that's also a problem, right? So my job is to determine capability to execute on the job duties, not the other stuff. So out of scope, personality fit, non-technical capabilities. Does the person pick their nose when they're nervous? I don't care. I don't know, and I don't care. I'm not even trying to figure that out. So my methodology then is always my approach. How do I filter things down that are obviously subjective and make them as objective as possible? And when you say subjective versus objective, it would be like if I took this right here, subjective would be like if you said, Scott, is this heavy? And I'd be like, that's a little heavy. I can pick it up though, so that's not too bad. And you'd be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? That's subjective. But hold on. If we defined heavy as greater than 5 pounds, hold on. Yeah, LBS. Good. It did like money earlier. And I put this down on a scale and I let it go. This is not 5 pounds, by the way. And then you would go, there it goes. It goes back to the money. But we look at this and it's not 5 pounds. Then we could objectively, by the standard that we set, the metric we chose to determine and the threshold that we set, this is not heavy. But do you guys see that's the difference between subjective and objective for the people that don't know that, right? But anyway, so yeah, Kevin. And by the way, I try not to be one of those guys like. There's all kinds of people out there that are gonna infotain you and tell you all that kind of stuff. I try not to be the guy that's like being like working people up and stuff. I try to do technical stuff. So I shouldn't have maybe wandered off into the Linux desktop space, but I do get the question a lot. Like, why don't you run a Linux desktop? And I'm like, I don't know. Why don't I only work on an old server tower like I used to when I was younger? Like I have a laptop now and I use a laptop for everything, right? We have the method by which I get into the thing is almost irrelevant to me. Uh-oh. Hold on, guys. I got a work thing real quick. 1 second here. I gotta put you guys on mute. All right, sorry about that, guys. A terrible technical interview where I currently work. I didn't know over half the service tools, and they checked my familiarity with not sure what they saw. Maybe I was just able to say, no, I've never heard of that, really nicely. So Jake, you felt like you did terrible, but you still passed? Is that what you're saying? Which one's RMS? I don't know who RMS is, but if you like any of these guys, like the really popular people, they're always doing like super, like they're always like getting everybody mad in their chat and stuff, and I just refuse to do that. Imits Ali, can I please build like a little lab where I do all this? Yeah, I've stayed out of like building home labs a lot of the times. Like I show you guys the labs and stuff, but I just didn't. I never did a build from scratch because a lot of my stuff. Honestly, guys, like my stuff that I do in my home lab, it's not the type of work I would do professionally. I am. It's funny too, because like watching me work, you'd probably think I'm pretty sloppy, but like my professional stuff is all clean, and I think it's pretty clean anyways. But and it's kept me in work for 20 years, so I think I do all right. But oh, Richard Stallman. Oh yeah, no, I know Stallman. Yeah. Well, I don't know him, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't want to be our. I never thought of that. By the way, we used to do that, and we probably should start doing it every year, where we watch OS Revolution from like 2002 or whatever, which is a movie that kind of documents how Linux blew up, and that's a lot of the GNU Linux joke that everybody's always telling. But yeah, I know who Stallman is. Doesn't he have? Doesn't Stallman have cancer? Last I heard, I thought he had something going on with him. I think it's a great movie, Colchis. I think it shows people. By the way, it also shows people something that I've been explaining for a long time. When I started this, If you told some Linux engineer or some Unix guy that you wanted to be a Linux engineer or a Unix guy, this is what, I'm not kidding you guys. They would go get one of these things. CD. Most of you don't even remember what these are, I'm sure. I'm just kidding. But they'd get one of these and they'd toss it to you like this and say, go ahead and install Linux or Unix, and then let me know when you're done with it. And if you couldn't install it, couldn't be a Linux admin. That was it. That was all. That was it. That was the end of... If you couldn't install it, if you couldn't get it installed and you couldn't go figure it out, that was it. There was no more talking about. There was no... Hey, let me just sit over your shoulder. That's how you learned. And maybe some of them would help you, but I'm going to tell you in general, that's how it goes. That's how I learned. That's how even when Ashton came and talked about it, he was talking about it. Nowadays, though, we've got these tools, man. We've got that Killer Coda site, free, drops you right into a terminal. You can do whatever you want in the labs, practice labs, and then leave the terminal. And all you had to do was know how to open a frickin' web browser, which I guarantee you everybody watching here could do, because you can't watch me unless you're in a web browser of some type. So, anyways, all right. So my methodology, in a way to objectively determine something, meaning I don't want to be subjective about it. I'll ask the same questions to all candidates and normalize their answers to a 50-point template. So there were 10 questions. I had about 30 minutes to talk to these people. And they were going to get excellent, adequate, or poor in some way from what I saw from their answers. This allows us to quantitatively show which candidate is best. So some candidate's going to get like 35, another candidate's going to get like 47. Well, according to the rules I set for myself of whether this water was heavy or not, like I was talking about earlier, it's either going to be, I can objectively say, now I may really like one of them, but they might still only get 30 on my scoring. But my scoring is objective. I am not. But again, I'm not looking for personality fit. Nobody's ever pulled me in an interview to see if somebody's likable. That's not what I do, guys. Prologue study group, soon covering Proxmox. Yeah, Trevor, I'll tell you what, we have one of the Proxmox, not Proxymox. Anyways, it doesn't matter. In our Discord in the last probably month, we've had kind of an explosion of people down in the voice channels, like hanging out, talking shop, working on stuff. And I'd be willing to bet some of them are using Proxmox. Actually, I know some of them are using Proxmox. So, yeah, absolutely, you guys should hang out down there. If you're ever in our Discord and hanging out and you see somebody down in the chat, you guys, the chat's open for everybody. There's nothing, I've been trying to emphasize this to everybody. There's nothing in our Discord that costs anything. Like, I had somebody pop in the one day, I think he might even be around. I'm not going to call him out or anything, but he was like, hey, is this free? Can I hang out here? Yeah, you see 100 people in the Discord, come hang out, I'm not. I assure you guys, I'm not going and collecting $100 from everybody for this course. This course is free. You guys can go do whatever you want down in there. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with Proxmox. I think it's a great tool. A lot of people, I understand why they run it. I just happen to have picked XCP-NG like years ago. Yeah, XCP-NG, and I just never moved off of it. In fact, if I were to ever rebuild all these labs, if I were ever to rebuild this environment, guys, I would probably strip these down and make these just big. These would probably just be big rocky servers that were just the server sitting there, and then I would probably just do some type of Kubernetes virtualization on top, like KubeVirt, which uses like QEMU or whatever it is underneath. I wouldn't dick around with all this stuff anymore like this. So I've never used Unraid. I've heard of that, but I've never used it. All right. So, anyways, my control. How do I control? In a scientific sense, control is the way that you validate what happened with your treated or untreated groups and how they were different than the control. Right? Control tends to be something that doesn't get affected by an experiment. Right? So my control in this is that all the questions are always going to be the same for everybody. Right? That's what's going to give me the best output for this objective treatment. So, to this point, this senior SRE, this is a real job posting that existed a few years back, and I helped them find somebody for it. And here were the responsibilities. I didn't write the responsibilities. I also didn't write the competencies. So these were given to me. These were already written by the time I got there. So, using standard systems management practices leads planning, development, and coordination of the team, operations, and projects. Okay. So I took all of these things and I distilled them down into questions that I wanted to ask. So there's 8 there and two more there, 9 and 10. Oh man. So, drop down a little bit. Here's my question. So these are the things that the people that were taking the test or taking the interview with me never saw these. But I would just ask them like this. So what are some project management methodologies you've used and how might you apply them here? Study group voice channels in 1 hour, 20 minutes covering Proxmox. Nice. Trevor, are you actually running it? One of you guys are going down there or a bunch of you guys going down there and doing it? That'll be awesome. An hour and 20 minutes. We can set a little timer. Are you actually doing that? Put that over my head here. Trevor, are you actually gonna... One hour, 20 min. There we go. We'll let that run so people there are like, what the hell is that? Well, that's your 1 hour and 20 minute warning. Man, are any of you guys getting just a ridiculous amount of texts about... I just get so many texts about political stuff right now. It's insane. So I just hold on. I need to tell you guys something funny. So are you guys? So again, look, I'm not gonna be political. I told you guys that always, but I'm not gonna get you guys fired up on technology. But do I have any Apple users here? Like any i-type product users? I imagine about half of you. So I'm gonna say something that's controversial, but it's also true, and you can go look it up whenever you want. I do not use Apple products, right? I don't, yeah, Colchis, I don't either. Not for that reason. It's just that I don't want another thing that I gotta maintain like that. But anyways, where I'm going with that is, do all of you guys know, do you guys all know, so all the guys that I know that have Macs, or iPhones, they always make fun of you if you don't have an iPhone, and it's because, and people overuse this term gaslighting. But I'm going to tell you 100% a fact where a whole community, I'm not going to call it gaslighting, it's just have been lied to because everybody's using the same protocol, guys. You guys can go look up what protocols we use to push JPEGs and GIFs and pictures, and all of those are open protocols, every single one of them. They're all defined well out there. Everybody knows what they are. We've been using them for some of them for over 20 years, some of them for less, but common protocols to push JPEGs and GIFs and all these things are very well known. But Apple has convinced people, I don't know if any of you guys know, but you get removed from group chat if you're not using an Apple like all your buddies. Yeah. So if you're not, well, but even that, Cole, because I'm talking about the protocols that push the actual, like a JPEG is a convention and a GIF or a GIF or whatever you want to call it, that is also a convention that's well fucking documented, right? All right. Yeah, so here's exactly where I'm going with this. You guys that think that your friends' phones are the problem because they're not on Apple with you, you have been lied to, because there's only two possibilities here. Either Apple engineers are too fucking stupid to properly implement a protocol that's been around for 20 years, which I don't believe, or they're doing it on purpose. Those are the only two things that are possible there. Because they built the phone, they got the thing messaging on SMS and all that stuff. but the base protocol can't fucking push a JPEG through when your buddy's on there. No, that's 100% by design, guys. So where I'm going with that is this. I've dealt with that my whole time, and I just think it's funny. Like, I'm like, all right, yeah, no, I'm a poor. I'm on an Android phone that has had a better camera since 2016, and like, anyways, we're not gonna go all there and stuff. Where I'm going with this that's funny is one of my buddies won't update his group chat, and he's on an iPhone. Hold on. One of my buddies just said his iPhone 7 won't update to iOS 18, and he's holding up the group chat. So one of our iPhone guys just turned on one of the other iPhone guys, and that's what's funny to me. Not the other stuff. The other stuff I just said as a background to the fact that one of my iPhone buddies is shitting on one of the other iPhone guys. And I'm just sitting here going, it's probably me. Yeah, this is the RCS stuff. Fair enough. All right. Your Apple isn't as good. That's exactly what's happening. Your old Apple and my updated Apple. Anyways, all right. I don't try to get political on here, guys. I don't try to get like technology, because like I'm not trying to shit on Apple. I think Apple's a perfectly fine tool to get into Linux, right? Like, and then it's a perfectly fine tool. In fact, they're maybe even better because they've got Unix under the hood. You guys probably mostly know that, and you can just SSH right into whatever you want for the most part. They do have some weird, like, I've only run Mac a little bit, like, to help people. I've never been a Mac admin at a company, but I've helped some of our Mac guys, and they do have some weird permission stuff that's different than normal access control lists and SC Linux and AppArmor and those kind of things, and I don't know all that stuff. I know that that's a little different. Pretty gimp that Apple holds this over everybody. Yeah. But I'm just saying it's funny that, like, my buddies are now Apple at Apple, and I'm just sitting back like, you know, they're not shitting on me for having an iPhone or an Android anymore. All right, so here's the questions, and now these questions are mapped back to what we were just talking about. You know, let's say, so the first one was, we want somebody who can run their lead. This is a senior position. When you have senior in front of your name, they expect you to lead things and run things and not have to ask questions about how things are going to get done. You have to make decisions. Some people think you don't make the decisions until you're like a staff or a principal. No, you make decisions as a senior. Those decisions may be within a framework of other engineering groups and other engineering teams that are led by staff and principal engineers, but you should still be making decisions as a senior engineer. She paid for the Apple support. I don't complained about the Windows anymore. Yeah. So Kevin, one of my good buddies, he went full Apple a few years ago. One of the guys I work with, very, very good Linux engineer, very good programmer and all that stuff. And it was just funny that, like, he told me, he's like, Scott, I just got so tired of my family shit not working with all my stuff. He goes, so I bought an Apple and I haven't heard from any of them since. And I was like, all right. Like, he hadn't heard from them on that ever since. So I think that's funny. One of my professors, very great, intelligent, and crazy deliberate about reading documentation, told us that the Android phones, TOS, explicitly say your phone is technically the property of Google and they factually own your phone, not you. Kind of crazy because it's the same with Apple. Yeah. Jake Sec, the other thing about that, this has been bugging me lately. I don't know how many of you guys have bought a vehicle in the last 5 years. Like, I own a 2019 Chevy Colorado. And I remember the first time that thing said, hey, I'm not going to be drivable for the next 10 minutes because I'm going to go ahead and update. Is that cool? And I could stop it, but they said, if this doesn't work, you're going to have this towed. And I'm like, the hell? But even in that, even with software updates, that's an annoyance. That's a thing that's always going to be here now. But if you go look at, like, people that own, and I'm only using Tesla because it's like the only car company I know that's electric. Most people own the hardware of the device, but they do not own the software of that device. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. Like you could buy a Tesla from somebody and it doesn't transfer over the license for like a second battery, and then you don't ever get to use that battery. And I'm like, that seems really weird, but none of us would have accepted that even 10 years ago, but I guess it's slowly boiling us. All right. Even I remember I was installing a Fedora desktop a few years back, and I remember when I got all done with my Anaconda installer, right? Anaconda, if you guys are familiar with the installer for pretty much all of your Red Hat stuff. And I got to the very end, and before I could get to the desktop, I had to accept a collection of data thing, and there was no skip. And I remember looking at that going, you guys let me get all the fucking way over here, before you did this, right? Before you did this, and this was on Fedora, so this was Red Hat responsible, and it said we're going to collect this data. This is the data that's used and being allowed and monitored and stuff. And I did not have a way. I could not use that desktop inside of that Fedora without accepting that. And I remember thinking, this is a bit dicey for what somebody's going to call open source. So, yeah, Richard Stallman's rolling over in his grave. He's not dead. Well, that's okay. He's still rolling. If he was in his grave, he'd be rolling over. Yeah, he's not dead, though. Doc Mallet, that's one that people know about a lot, is the John Deere. You can't update your own John Deere. So there's a whole underground, like, black market of buying software for John Deere stuff. Yeah. That's wild. But anyways, all right, so back here, you guys probably have read them if you wanted to, but I said describe an automation tool you've applied or a pipeline you built for deployments, what worked well, what didn't. And the guy who actually got this job, I ended up interviewing 3 people for this. They had gotten past all the other rounds, but this was around site. This is a site reliability person, so they had to talk about self-service enablement. And actually, I might be able to get him to come talk to the group sometime. He's really, really good at what he does. He came over. He had been working in libraries for colleges. He had been working in libraries, and for the last 11 years, he had been building like a library indexer. It's out on GitHub, and this library tool, and then the web page for it. He had a little pipeline where anytime he needed to make a change, he could make a change, he could validate it, and then he could push it through his pipeline and deploy it to production. He didn't even realize that was site reliability stuff. He just knew that he could make a change over here, go through all of his regression and testing, and then validate it was good and hit a button and push it. That's a pipeline, guys. That's like the definition of a pipeline, right? So anyway, so that was something he described, and that was something that he kind of did. And then another one was, what's your experience with Git and software versioning, right? Like, so if you've done any Git or SVN, any other types of SVNs that are out there, Git's probably the only one anybody's using anymore. But what are some of the best practices you'd like to see from junior engineers? So I wanted to hear them say, we'll do code reviews and we'll do, whatever kinds of stuff like that, right? Then down here, ColdFront. This was a very specific question for a very specific project. And ColdFront has to do with like bringing users into a high-performance compute environment. So we wanted to implement that. We had not implemented anything like that in that environment, so we wanted to do that. And that was a specific question we wanted to know about, right? Then we asked him about code reviews. What have you done? And what would you do if you didn't have one here and you need to implement it from scratch? Well, by the way, we didn't. So we needed him to come in and do that, right? And he did. This person did all that stuff. What type of operating system update? This one's interesting, right? So probably every one of you here has updated a phone. Probably had a phone tell you it was going to update, whether you wanted it to or not. Some of us have updated our frickin' trucks now. That's annoying. It does that every year or so. Some of you have updated your local operating system, but what I wanted to know here, what I was kind of looking for that would really have given him a 5, would be if he had planned operating system updates for an enterprise across many types of nodes. You've got RHEL 6, 7, and 8. This is probably dated now. So let's say like 7, 8, and 9 in an environment. 7's still kicking. 7, 8, and 9 in an environment. And you've got to have a patching methodology for how you're going to update all of your dev servers. You got 900 dev servers, and you got to get them patched in one weekend. What's that look like to you? And then after you do that dev environment, what's your checkout of your dev servers to make sure that they're good before 2 weeks later you do your prod environment, right? So these are the kind of things that I would expect them to tell me about a little bit. In fact, I have to draw that process up for this training here that I'm going to be doing. Go work for Meta. Engineers, even IC2, 3 are mostly responsible for PM. Their levels differ in leadership, expectations, scope of impact, and collaboration. Nice. Yeah, I actually have a buddy that's over at Meta. He's a senior software engineer for them, and I think he's got about he's probably up to about 8, from what he's shown over the years. I think he's up to about 8 patents with them too. So he does a lot of patents around AI deployments and automation of testing and regression and software. He's a software guy. He also runs a tool. He also runs a thing out here called OHAC. I always try to tell you guys about OHAC. If you're a software guy that's already doing it and doing well, it's good. If you're trying to get into the industry, it's good. If you are not related to the industry but you want to donate something, I think it's good. But it's OHAC. OHAC. Let's just do OHAC Arizona. And it's ohac.org. And yeah, so I know the guy that runs this. And whoops. And they just finished OHAC 2024 out here. But they're oh, not 2024. They just did 2025. I feel like this is a really old page. I'm gonna have to tell him to update his page because they just finished. They just finished 2025 rather. So I feel like he needs to update this page. Hack.ohawk. So maybe he needs to just update that. But yeah, they literally just finished this one. So I don't know why it says. Oh. Yeah. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Yeah, they just finished this one in 2024. So there you go. For some reason, I was thinking it was a year back. But yeah, they just finished this one. They had... if you guys have never seen like an OHAC event, what they do is they get all the students together and they just make them sit together for like 48 hours of pair programming, and they design their projects and they work with actual nonprofits. That's the other part. They work for an actual nonprofit, and then that nonprofit gets the benefit of having real coders and mentors, and then students help them build out projects that are real. So this is a pretty, yeah, you could request a hack. Like you could be a team, or you could be one of these nonprofits and say, I need help. I need help implementing Google Maps to help my drivers go pick up people's, whatever. And as donations come in, we can go pick up their donations or whatever like that. Code for America. Nice. Yeah. The guy who runs this, it's on his page, so I don't mind telling you, Greg. He is one of their... Where's he at? Yeah, Greg. He's engineering manager at Meta. I've known Greg for quite some time. That's him back there. I've known him since Lockheed Martin. We were on a team back together called in a competition called Hammer Block, and we beat 400 and something other engineering teams at Lockheed Martin for this. It was a hacking competition of getting into a bunch of servers and mapping an environment and stuff. So he and I and about 6 other guys worked on it, and yeah, so Greg's pretty good people. But anyways, he's been running that for about 10 years. It looks like 10 or 11 years now. If I could remember that it's 2024. I don't know what's going on with my brain right now. Code reviews. What type of operating system updates have you done? And then this one's big for me. What type of troubleshooting methodology have you used? Some people troubleshoot really well and fast, but they never and because of that, they never go learn a formal methodology. Well, that's wonderful if the problem's simple. But as problems get more complex and more players get involved, and it's a Linux, a network, and a storage problem potentially, something's busted in one of those 3, and now we need to start doing more than just what I can check real quick on a Linux command line. Because I can check stuff pretty fast. But what if it's not me? What if there was something else done? What if, and how would I know? How would I be able to even help the network and the storage team see what my system does or doesn't see? Like what, all these kind of things that I need to know. So what type of troubleshooting have you used? And I wasn't super worried when I asked this kind of question that somebody sat down and said the 7 steps of solving a problem are, and then walking through them. But you should be able to do it. You should be able to give a general idea for how you're going to do some troubleshooting and that kind of stuff. Data metric gathering. If we're going to do any kind of let's say we were going to argue politics, but we were going to argue economics, right? And some of you have probably studied economics. I'm working on my doctorate in business, so I do a fair amount with economics. And let's say we were going to argue economics. But before we start arguing about this big giant thing called economics, we set some ground rules. And we talk about the 3 metrics that we're going to use are jobs, this, and this. Now, if then when we start discussing that, you start going off on a different tangent about something else, I'll say, well, look, we're not talking about those metrics anymore. Or similarly, let's just say that somebody told you that this was the best economy ever, and they told you because this, and this, these are the historic metrics we've always used, and because of those, this is the best economy ever. And then you look at it and you go, well, maybe we should use some other ones because those three that say we're doing the best, maybe not right. Anyways, again, I'm not getting political. I'm just saying this is how we would have a discussion. It's the same thing with systems. If I didn't know, if you're over there talking about how much CPU we're using and I'm over here talking about disk I/O, we are not going to get to the right type of solution. We're looking at the wrong metrics, right? If that kind of makes sense. So you gotta think about what metrics tools you've used. There could be a lot of those different things. Firefighting instant debriefs and weekly status. Yeah, all that needs to be structured 100%. One of the things I've had the guys do in the Linux Systems Administration course was look up what does it mean to have like a bridge team? What does it mean to have like a bridge call stood up? And what do we do in a bridge? Like what are we trying to do when bridge activities are happening? We're reporting stuff up. We're actively tracking where everybody's at, and there's a bunch of cats going a bunch of different ways, and we're trying to herd them in one direction, right? Then I wanted him or her. There was a her involved in the interviewing, right? Describe some Bash scripting concepts or another language. This person had done quite a bit of Python, and they had done a fair amount of what was the templating language they used for their pushing? I forget, but they had used a fair amount of it, and I felt like they understood it a little bit, and that was good. And then I said, what's a software development framework you've worked with? Have you done Waterfall? Have you done Agile? Have you done TOGAF? TOGAF is not strictly a software development framework. It's an architecture framework, but it generates artifacts, which people who understand software development tend to understand what artifacts are. So what's a framework that you've used? And then can we talk about it and what was good and what was bad, right? And these are very open-ended questions where I'm letting them describe to me, and then I'm kind of figuring out how well I think they understand the topic or whatever. So this is what it might look like filled out, something like this. And then we go. All right. Wait, do we have... I need to go look something in chat. Did I ever hear anything back from... One of the guys said... Trevor said, yeah, study group down in voice channel, an hour and 20 minutes covering Proxmox. So yeah, I'm assuming that that's going to happen then. All right. Here's Ranger Dog. This Linux Systems Administration, we're not going to dig into this right now, but this is a course. This is not part of the Linux Systems Administration course. This is just my talks around what do we do with Linux systems and how do we check them out. Mainly around utilization, saturation, and errors of the big three, which are CPU, memory, disk, and network, right? Those are critical things to kind of understand how those things work. And then down here, here's my testing methodology. Remember I said that's always the same for me. I always ask these things. And then benchmarking, we talk about baselining and benchmarking. People tend to use those interchangeably, but I think of baselining as what is the system kind of always operating at, and benchmarking is kind of us spinning the system up, like putting our foot on the gas, seeing how fast it goes, that kind of stuff. And then I give a little bit of a benchmarking methodology, and then I get down, after we do benchmarking, I do troubleshooting. So I do have all my stuff in here about these are the 7 steps that a lot of people use for troubleshooting. This is the U.S. military uses this. Identify the problem and its symptoms, establish a theory of probable cause, test your theory, make sure it's probably right, establish a plan, implement the plan, verify that it's working, and then document your findings, actions, and outcomes. If you get to here and verifying doesn't work, you go back to here and you test your second most likely cause, and then you keep going, right? All right, by the way, I gotta check what's going on over here. I gotta check my my messages real quick. Again, those guys just sitting there shitting all over the other iPhone user is hilarious to me. All right, I gotta check a couple things, guys. Job recommendations. I don't need a job. I'm always getting so the algorithms that be out in the world, they always think that I'm looking for work, because as a college professor, I'm always looking up jobs and looking at stuff for my college students. So I think it's funny that they always think that I'm doing whatever. Hold on. Oh, okay. Somebody sent me the output of a kernel boot up with no context. Hold on. All right. All right. I'm back. Okay. Secret, thanks for coming. We're just kind of hanging out. When y'all get to Fang level, salary negotiator help you. Yeah, fair enough. So you get to troubleshooting, and there's all my troubleshooting stuff, methodologies, other stuff. I think in here I talk about failure modes and effects analysis, FMEA, and how that works and how you do that analysis. We're not going to talk about that right now, but that's kind of that part of that talk. But I forget where we were going on that, except that I wanted you guys to know that there are ways to make things objective, even if they seem like they're subjective in some way. All right, let me pull up this. And, oh, I had not jumped back in. All right, our environment's all good. Check our uptime again. Just make sure everything's good in the environment. Yep. Somebody's reconnected to Rocky 1, so that's good. Means people are using the nodes. That's the goal. Get people in there working on stuff, and make sure everything's working right. I think we've got 54 minutes. If anybody wants to go jump down in the Discord, there's going to be people down there talking and working. Down in, I think in Linux chat, they said. Hey, where's my teeth? How's everyone doing? You've been lurking? Nice. Yeah, I'm hanging out, not working too hard. I am all done, so I'm back on stream, back on screen, because I'm all done with all that co-working stuff. Looks like we got... I always love it when this is how we know that we're having a good day, is when a whole bunch of people are jumping in the server. And the bot is doing a bunch of stuff. Let's ask the bot something. Let's say, ask, what will help me fix computers the best? The bot answers very quickly because it goes back to an LLM. Again, Fisherman shows how to do this on stream if you guys are ever looking for stuff. Unless the bot's broken. Did he break the bot? Sometimes he turns the bot down. No, he shouldn't have turned the bot off. He's not on, is he? Yeah, he's not on, is he? Yeah, Barry, so we're building our most... We're building the newest generation of SAs right now, what we call sysadmins, right? SAs are what they call them from the government side of things a lot of times. Just S, the letter S, the letter A. There we go. Yeah, those skills are good. Yeah, and Barry, I'm going to do one after December. So after we get done with the 16-week course, I promised the guys that I would do one that's engineering-based. And I will show you how to take the trip from here to here. So in here, you know, I always show you guys this, but this is the way that we kind of do systems. This is a Cisco model called PPDIOO, which is prepare, plan, design, implement, operate, and optimize. And almost universally, you sysadmins and the juniors are going to hop in over here, operating and optimizing things. I'm going to get rid of this. There's not a problem right now. But we operate and optimize things. That's what we do. And then over here, when you get into systems engineering, you're preparing and planning and designing and implementing things into a running system. And I tell people all the time, Give a brief of CIS, PCI, and STIG. Oh, I could talk about those. Give me a second here real quick. So systems engineering project work, we implement things. And I tell people all the time, if stuff worked out of the box, if stuff just worked out of the box with no integration, the salesperson would set it up and they wouldn't need the engineer. Salesperson would come out and go, you need about 20,000 of them Linux boxes, and that'll do you for. And then they say, yeah, okay, cool. And he'd push a button, and there'd be 20,000 Linux servers, and it would all work. But that's not how it works. Some of those servers are gonna die. Their hard disks are gonna suffer what's called an infant mortality rate, and they're gonna die well before their MTBF, which is their mean time between failures. And then, if you have an MTBF of like 2 years on a disk, and you've got 20,000 nodes, you guys know that you should average. We do the math on that. Watch. Right here. Here's the math. 365.25, right? That's about how many days are times 2. So 730. So 730 and a half. And then you go, what did I say the number was earlier? Oh, I said 20,000, right? So then you take 20,000, divide it by that 730.5. About how many nodes you should expect going down every day if that was the mean time between failures of those disks. You say, really, that many? Yep. If you had 20,000 nodes, yeah, that's about what you should expect. You're like, no, there's no way. Yeah, go look at what's happening with a team that has 20,000 nodes out there. I used to deal with disk arrays that had 10,000 plus disks in them. And those things are, now, if you have a day without any failures, that's nice, right? And sometimes you don't. But that's what you would expect as like an average if the mean time between failure was that many days. Now, let's say it was different. Let's say the mean time between failure on your disks was 5 years. So that would be 365.25 times 5, right? And then that would be divided into 10,000, so 1826. So, 20,000, let's say was your disks divided by, what was it, 18, I don't know, 36, something like that. That's how many you would expect to fail a day. And that's about how many you should probably at least have on hand or be able to get from your vendor, right? And you say, really, that many? Yeah, your disks and those type of arrays are always rebuilding something. That's why we have to have the right type of architectures that can handle rebuilds without data loss and without slowdown of performance, right? And then, anyway, so I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I mean, I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know why I'm talking about it. Is the bot down? I feel like the bot's down. Bot's not down. Can somebody else ask the bot what's going on? I don't know if anybody here is in our Discord, but can somebody else ask the bot? You should be able to ask the bot anything, and it should tell you, but it's not responding to me. It's messing up my name, but it's not responding to me. All right. Yeah. Anyways, Discord's there for you guys to hang out with. What was I doing? I was doing something earlier. Oh, yeah. Look at that later. Wazoo or whatever that is. Where's Ranger? Oh, Ranger's looking out back. Ranger's up and about, guys. That's a treat. You very rarely see Ranger walking around. Night Strike. I see a simple solution if you had only one hard disk, another hand to replace the other one. Poof, problem solved. Like fair enough. Yeah, that's all it takes. You just got to be ready to do site reliability. I don't think I've ever seen Ranger without the wife going out back, hang out at the door like that. What's he doing? What's that dog thinking about? Dog's so old. No, because Chris just saw me say Scott. So, client platform engineering takes SRE, PE, and drives configuration and engineering platform stacks to dev servers and client endpoints. Standardization becomes important for 130K endpoints. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I think the biggest cluster I probably worked on is a little over 20K nodes, but I do high performance compute stuff normally, so I haven't done too many things bigger than that. But let me go with all right, I'm gonna go on, let me turn myself off here. I'm gonna take a quick break and go wander around It looks like we're going to have people down in about 45 minutes studying. So if any of you guys want to go down in the Discord, let's see, hold on, is it working down there? What is ice, Guzzy? Yep, nope, it's not doing it. All right. Well, I'm going to walk around for a minute, and I'll be back. So you guys hang out. Keep an eye on Ranger. Keep an eye on the security of our labs. Make sure nothing too ratchet looks like it's going on. All right. I'll be back. Where are they studying? They're going to be working on Proxmox. They said they're going to do a Proxmox rundown in the environment. So for anybody that wants to learn Proxmox, that's what those guys are going to be doing. I'm going to start working on the Linux Systems Administration stuff here soon. Throw some water bottles down. Turn that fan over on me a little more. Alright, I will be back. Just wandering around a little bit. Alright, I'm back. So, let's see if I'm back and if we've got all our stuff here. Make sure this is all good. Alright, I'm back. I'm gonna drink a little bit. I moved some stuff around on my desk, so my desk fan is on me again. So, hopefully, even though it's 95 right now in Phoenix. Yeah, that's Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. Although, what we're going to do is probably go look at... let's go back to where we were. So in our Prologue presentations, we've got a bunch of different stuff. And I've been working on Linux Systems Administration course, and I need to do 7 and 8. look at my old outdated. There you go. Oh, the Ansible labs are good. Those are pretty good labs. Most people. Okay, those are the older ones. So, what I need to do is I need to bring some stuff over and start to clean these up, right? Home lab standardization and simplification really help. Yeah, there's over on my command line there, Eric, is that what you're asking for? So I have a cluster of Rocky nodes that are run as part of Werewolf. So Werewolf is a system that allows you to, well, hold on, let me just pull up. Let me just describe Werewolf to you. So it's a daemon, runs on a server, and then that becomes your head node for your cluster, right? If you want to think of it like that. And that node keeps a bunch of information, and it does a bunch of things. So Werewolf D is running as a daemon, and it's running DHCPD under it, so it's running as your DHCP server on that environment, handing out IP addresses and node information. It's got TFTP, so people can iPixie boot off of it in the environment. It's got, let's see, what other service they're running in there. NFS, if you're running NFS. In fact, I'll just show you here. Watch, so these are the services. Cat, Etsy, Werewolf, werewolf.com. So here's kind of what it's all doing. It's got some internal network. This is its IP. This is the net mask and what's allowed. It's operating on 9873, so that's how things communicate with it. DHCP is enabled, and it can give this range out to devices that come up, right? And then what happens is if any of those nodes go down, they reconnect, they do DHCP. So any of you that are familiar with IP and any device that comes up on IP, if it's not doing static, if it's doing something dynamic, it used to be what's called the boot P protocol. Now it's DHCP. And the system will come up, and it'll basically, like, for lack of a better term, it'll just start screaming at layer 2, does anybody know who the DHCP server is? That's what it does. And it's screaming in all Fs, 48 ones in a row, all Fs in hexadecimal, right? For if anybody knows who is the DHCP server. Only one device in your network should ever respond. In any one network segment, only one device should ever say, I'm the DHCP server. That's what Werewolf does. Then the server goes and it... server goes and it pulls down its definition from TFTP and gets everything that it needs. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that yelling that happens is a DHCP. It's a layer 2 broadcast. Yep, all Fs and the Mac. So then there's a bunch of stuff that gets fed out and a bunch of other things happening. So Werewolf has container images, so you can build container images. You can build overlays. Overlays come in the system type or a runtime type. System type applies only as the node first comes up. Runtime comes up, runs every minute or so, configurable with what's called the WW client that runs on all of these nodes. So I have 19 nodes running, and everybody that is part of the professional Linux users group can access those nodes, right? So the way that looks is let's just kick one of these nodes over. Let's check again real quick. Is anybody not on? I'll just check again. We'll verify. We'll find one that nobody's on. See, somebody's on Rocky 1. There's 3 users on there, so some connections are made. Let's just go with like Rocky 18. Nobody's on Rocky 18. So we're going to go over to Rocky 18 here. And we're going to go to his console so we can watch him boot up. We're just going to kick that box over. Just reboot him. Reboot, boom. Now, if we were over here and we did a tail-f on var log werewolf d, now we can watch as Rocky. So we're going to see other nodes that are doing their overlay polls from their WW clients that I just described. But also, this node, Rocky 18, as he comes back up, is going to ask. We're going to see a DHCP request. These are more of those other ones. These are those overlays happening. And what's eventually going to happen over here, we're going to see him boot, and we're going to see him go to an iPixie. So, he's going to boot up. We can watch him over here. We see that he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't have a boot device. He doesn't have a hard disk, so he's going to go and he's going to boot via. So then over here, we should see there's Rocky 18 right there. I'm going to hit Control C for a second. There is, oops, where's Rocky 18? Right there. And he's going to pull down his information, and then we should be able to see him keep pulling down his information here. For his init RAM FS, and all of these things that he needs to boot. So we see him booting his kernel image and his init RAM FS right here. Kernels are built into the containers in Rocky, but if you want, you can also override kernels. So let me show you that as he continues to boot up. So you've got these wwctl commands, right? You've got a whole bunch of them. And maybe you say wwctl node list. And in my environment, here's my nodes. What Pixie are we using? It's just iPixie. Starwolf, I don't know the exact version. I could probably go look it up. So, CentOS Stream 9 gets security updates much faster than Rocky or Alma. Yeah, that's probably true, Barry. Rocky for us is supported through CIQ. CIQ is a company that does Rocky and Werewolf and Aptainer and just a bunch of other like high performance compute type stuff. They're really kind of pushing on the high performance compute stuff. Before Werewolf was big, people probably remember Beowulf clusters. If you ever run a Beowulf cluster, Werewolf is based on Beowulf. So same guy who ran it. Where my teeth said, can I tell you what is my go-to LLM? Be honest, aside from building LLMs in the lab that Fisherman made, I don't really do anything with LLMs. Not at all. I don't do any. Nothing. I mean, I've run Olama and Tiny Llama in my home lab, but I don't do anything else with it. I do kind of want to get that stuff all set up, but not that. HPC sysadmin at Stanford. Nice. What were you doing over there, Barry? I've done XCAT, Werewolf. I've done HPCM, Shasta. I've run Slurm. I've run PBS Scheduler. I've run LSF, Platform LSF, and OpenLava. So, but at the end of the day, I tell you guys, I'm just a Linux guy, right? And more than just a Linux guy, I'm kind of a guy who just solves problems for my company, right? Like probably started in June. I was working on this project and helping to support these guys out in Chandler. So I'm local and I could drive over there and fix a lot of this stuff. And I was telling the guys out there, I was like, yeah, my boss just kind of sends me out because I figure stuff out and get it working. That's kind of like, I'm a closer. So I closed that project out and got it all done. And if you guys remember when I was doing a lot of the stigging work a while back. Oh, somebody asked about that. Sorry. Are you still around? Hold on. Somebody a little while ago asked. I apologize, guys. Excuse me. Somebody asked about Stigs, PCI, and CIS benchmarks. Isn't that right? Oh man, where is it? Sorry, I missed it, guys. I'm going to answer that real quick. Is that still around? InfiniBand, GPF, yeah, I use InfiniBand a lot. GPFS, use that a lot. PBS, yep. Hadoop, so I've built some Hadoop, but only for like, it wasn't the big data of like a high performance compute cluster. I built it for a big insurance company. Interesting. Well, hold on. So somebody asked, I can't find it. Somebody asked about the CIS stuff. I don't know why I can't find it. Somebody else help me out here. What? Excuse me. All right. I'm still going to go over it real quick. So the question was, could I show, let's just pull this up real quick. Could I show a little bit about CIS benchmarks, STIG standards, and PCI? Well, PCI is pretty easy. PCI has 12 12 general base rules to it, right? So like, let's say we just came here, turned this off and said PCI standard. Right, or standards. Yeah, PCI, CIS, and STIG. All right, so PCI, pretty straightforward. There are a couple things to understand about PCI. You do not have to ever, nobody's ever going to force you to do PCI standards. You are not required by law to ever adhere to them. But if you want to take credit card information, you are going to be PCI compliant. So boom, there you go. To Austin, I guess in about 31 minutes, they're going to be hopping down in Discord and talking about it. So keep an eye in. They might be in the study groups. Yeah, they're going to do a Proxmox walkthrough. I don't know all the guys. The person who was setting it up is, I'm pretty sure, Treasure. I'm not 100% sure that's him by his other name, but yeah. It said 1 hour and 20 minutes a while ago, and I started a timer. So you got about 30 minutes left, and they're going to be down in study group voice channel. Okay, good. Now, hold on. Let's go back to this real quick. We'll keep an eye on that, though. But coming down here, the PCI standards, pretty straightforward. There's like 12 things you have to adhere to. They've been updating them and requirements and stuff like that. Not release great. I like that. Here's the requirements. They're pretty straightforward. What gives people a hard time with them, here's the 12 of them right here, is that you have to assert with your own audit that your stuff is true, and then you have to pay a validated PCI DSS external auditor to come in and they validate that what you said is true. All right, so those are the kind of things that you need to do. Barry A said, Fedora Red Hat World has automated guides with SCAP. Yeah, there are a bunch of automated, in fact, I have some labs that show you guys how to do automated scanning of STIGs and that kind of stuff. All right, so that's PCI, and that's kind of how that works. There are reporting levels. You do need to know this if you ever get your CIS, CISSP or CCSP. And the levels are based on how many transactions you have. So level 4 is less than 20,000 transactions. And that is, here's the merchant levels, right? And I thought that was monthly, but this says it's annually. So apparently it's annually. So you're level 4, then you become level 3, and then 2. And then if you're level 1, you're doing over 6 million transactions annually. And I swear since the last time I've looked this up, this has expanded because I thought it was only 3 before. One of the reasons we still use SolarWinds support that we never use the hacked version. It's not internet facing, doing a proof of concept right now with Grafana at worst. VS, we have some labs that might help you out with that. I don't know, in Killer Coda, so feel free to look those up if you want. But anyway, so yeah, you always do your self-assessment, and then they always come in and audit you. That's how PCI works. All right, so that's PCI. STIGs work like this. These are free to download from the U.S. government, but they have a nice little warning, right? Like, this is a government thing. You must be using whatever. Don't store data on here. Authorized U.S. government, authorized use only. All right. They're not helping you in any way with this, okay? And what you get with STIGs are a bunch of recently and hopefully, actually, yeah, look, we're up in October for some releases. July was the most recent releases that I had gotten to for like Red Hat 9. So then you come in here and you download the most recent version and you compare it against a scan of like what you're doing in your environment. So I have a bunch of them already set up. I'll pull up my system and show you guys. So if I go back to download some of my older downloads here, where's my little STIG viewer? I think it's down here. Win64. Yeah, so here. We'll just open up the STIG viewer here. And what the STIG viewer shows when it comes up is information about the secure technical implementation guidelines of something. And you have to go download these STIGs separate. So these STIGs that I have here, I've downloaded for different work that I've done. But let's say you were going to do a layer 2 switch security. There are 31 rules for how this switch must interact in your environment and what it must be capable of doing. Cisco switches have their own STIGs. This is like a generic layer 2 switch. And what are they? The first one, it must be configured to disable non-essential capabilities. So you must turn things off. Then what happens here, so let's say there's no actual check for this. You just need to go turn off services that you're not using. So what I would do from this is I would build a checklist. So we'll open a checklist from the Mark STIGs. Excuse me, and here's my checklist. And then I would go in and I would say, the finding details are exactly what I see out of that switch. So like I did a show version on the switch and I got, you know, whatever output that I saw from the switch. I would actually just go grab it like this. Whoops. I would go grab it like this right out of the thing and paste it right in there. And then I would say this switch has disabled all but the necessary I don't know, whatever, services, right? Because that's what it says, services. Boom. Then what I would do is I would come over here and I would look at the STIGs and I would say, we are 0% compliant. But when I say that we're compliant, this was open, this actually was not reviewed yet. I'm going to say it's not a finding. And when I do that, my STIG score is going to jump just a little bit, 3.22. So I want to get my switch as high, close to 100% STIG'd as I can. So that means that I'm following all the secure technical implementation guidelines. And then there's Cat 1s. Like Cat 1s are the most important. Layer 2 switch must uniquely identify all network connected endpoints, devices before establishing any connection. Okay, switch, or maybe I do something like this. I say switch. So in my switch, I would do a command that looks something like this. So that would be my prompt, right? And then I would say show MAC address table, right? Something like this. And then now that would give me some output. And then I would come down here and say, this shows that the switch only talks to devices that have a valid and well-formed MAC in the environment. Because that's true, switches only do that. And then I would say, okay, that's not a finding. Let's say, and then that would make it 6.9, and then I'd be 100% on this one. But then my Cat 2s are the next most important, and then my Cat 3s are not nearly as important, but most of them you'll see are Cat 2s. And you would come through here and you would just work off all these items until you had some score that met whatever the minimum requirement was for your organization. That's actually why I started the proof of concept, you and Killicode. Nice, VS. I hope this stuff's useful. Like this, I tell you guys all the time, you guys are welcome to hang out in Discord. You guys are welcome to hang out here. But if somebody were to just join our Discord and run off like a cartoon villain with a little sack full of all of our stuff, I'm fine with it. And if you made another prolug that was called like prolug 2 or not prolug and you got more people than us, I wouldn't care. Because again, I don't really get anything from this except the stuff that I get to make and build, and then like the practice of working through stuff that I might not have done otherwise, you know. I don't really make any money streaming. I don't know if you guys know, but like if you're just a guy with like 46 people watching you, you're not really making any money streaming. Well, and let me say this. This will be super Chad. You're not making anywhere near what an engineer makes. In fact, I've told the wife, I'm like, I wouldn't roll out of bed for this. I wouldn't respond to a text for this kind of money. So that's actually kind of funny. But anyways, so the point is, yeah, this is like, look, we hang out. You don't have a group that is your friends. You make friends. FRENS, not FRIENDS. Friends. FRENS. Yeah, we don't have enough friends, so we make friends. I think that's so funny. My wife has a big thing in the front porch of our house. Like as people drive up, they can see the front of our house. We don't really have a porch, but we do have like a back recessed door, and she's got a big sign that's like 4 feet tall that says "Hey friends," and it's just like this really funny little sign that my wife has. Have an organized wiki such as shared Obsidian library mirrored in Git with discoverable manner helps. Plus have run books for ops for people waking to avoid waking you up as much as possible. Yeah, actually, it's funny. The training that I'm doing next week in Hawaii, the training that I'm giving, my lab book that's 36 labs on like just crawling around the system and understanding all the pieces of this system. One of the things I say in there is this lab, the lab book is designed to become your run book. So like the guys that are on the team, there's 3 people on the team and then some other people might show up. the lab book is designed to, when they're done, they've got the start time and the end time of all their labs, and I say, hey, this is for you, so put your start time and your end time. It's not, I'm not going to grade like, oh, you took 45 minutes to get through one of my labs. No, the goal is to have them be able to tell a junior engineer, this task should take you about 45 minutes, because that's what it took the new senior engineers, that they know Linux, but they don't know Linux in this environment. And that's constantly what I'm telling you guys about, like having good inventories and stuff. Your inventory is if I go to your company and I said, hey, okay, give me an inventory so I can help you out, and you say we don't have an inventory, I'd say we literally, we have nothing else to try to talk about or work on to secure your systems, to admin your systems, to do anything until we get your inventory right. Do you guys know that? Like, and that's not me being an asshole. That's just, there's literally nothing else to talk about. If you're like, Scott, why can't I keep my system secure? And I go, well, how's your inventory? And you go, I'd go, and we'd just be sitting there like looking at each other like, you know, like we're at an impasse or something. But the thing is, we got to get our inventories right. Literally nothing else matters. It's that thing I always tell you guys about RoboCop. RoboCop's the best cop ever, but if you take him out of Detroit and you go drop him in Los Angeles and he doesn't have a map of the streets, it doesn't fucking matter how good he is. He can't get to the call. He can't, you know, it's this. Automation building usually starts manual increment. Yeah, that's 100% true. But being able to even manually hit your systems requires you know what all your systems are, right? And I told you guys, this is exactly what it's going to be. You're going to get hired, and you're going to be the only guy on your team, you know, a small company maybe, and you're going to say, okay, boss, do we have, you know, he's going to have you sitting here and he's going to be standing over beaming because he finally got himself a Linux sorcerer, because again, nobody knows what Linux people do. And I've tried to explain it to other people, and I've tried to explain it to management, and they're just like, oh, you. Anyways, so you say, okay, I'm here. I've got into, you know, they make sure you get into the first system, and then you go, hey, boss, do we have like a good inventory? And he's gonna go like this. He's gonna touch you on the shoulder and go, oh, you. And he's gonna turn around and walk out of the room, and he's not gonna even answer you. It's now on you. Like, he doesn't know where the documentation is. The other guy took that with him without telling anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the mess that admins and engineers find themselves in all the time. You get the yeah, he's just like, oh, you, like, go get him, little slugger. Like, you don't get to, like. So the idea that like we do a lot of forensics and a lot of like figuring things out is really big. But once you figure it out, God, don't make it hard for future you, because like you're gonna see something in like 2 years and be like, who the hell wrote this? This happens to me often. Who the hell wrote this? And then I scroll to the top and it's my name and I go, I try to document stuff pretty well, but I'll tell you what, I don't remember what I write years later. So I've looked at stuff and been like, I mean, this works, but oh God. And I scroll up and it's me and I'm like, But anyways, don't do that shit to yourself, guys. All right. So I was asked about PCI DSS, STIGs. So this is STIGs, and this is a free little STIG viewer. So you can go build your own little STIGs. I show you guys how to do STIG reports in the Killer Coda around Ubuntu and Apache. So both of those are there. Yeah, that's your supervisor now. All right. The last one that I'm gonna close. I'm not gonna save this one. I don't care. Last one I'm gonna show you is if I go to Documents and then I go here to CIS. And let's say that I open up, these are a little dated. Let's say that I go to my Nginx benchmark, and I'm going to open this up with Chrome so you guys can see it. The CIS benchmarks are a set of standards for how you should secure a system. This is another one of those where if you don't do it, nobody's going to kick in the door of your data center and say, shut it all down, shut down all the Nginx. It's just that I constantly tell you guys, it's hard to start from a blank page. If I said, okay, guys, let's figure out an Nginx security thing, and then I open up a blank Word doc, we'd all be sitting here looking at each other like this. Like, we wouldn't have any idea where we were going to start. And we'd go, well, should probably be on port 80 because that's the default. And we'd all go like, yeah, that was a good start. And then somebody else would go, I think 443 is that SSL. We'd be like, yeah, probably should use SSL where we can, and then we'd go from there. But again, that's very hard to start. So benchmarks like this are very good for you to take. And look, the benchmarks. So I ask this often, but let's do an exercise and a thought exercise real quick. if all of these things are good, all of these, look, there's four, there's all these, let's call this a few hundred. Let's call this like 150. Let's say there's 150 of these. Yeah, about 150, whatever. If these work and they are secure and we know about them, and by the way, we have automated ways to build them like this, why does every Nginx deploy not have this set up in it? Why? Same thing with like those desktops. We have 464 Rocky or Rel 9 standards that should be applied. If all those standards are well known and we have Stig scripts that can just do it in Ansible, why are they not always applied? Why? Does anybody want to take a guess? Now you need UDP for port HTTP3. Yeah. So think about this real quick. Why is this is good? This is your seatbelt. Why isn't every Nginx equipped with all of these? Why aren't they all turned on by default? And the answer lies in a saying that I'm going to say. I'm going to say this as a CISSP and a CCSP and a guy who's been the red team lead for a big insurance organization. And I'm going to say this with all the chattiness that I can as a person who's been a security engineer. Security is the enemy of productivity. What do I mean by that? Nobody heard me say security is bad, but security is the enemy of productivity. What do I mean by that? So, wouldn't it be easier if when you came into work in the morning, you just walked right in, no door? Why is there a door? Why do I need to wear a badge? Why do I have to show a badge to the guard and hit the little thing to open? Why do I have to do any of that? When I sit down at my machine that I took home to secure, why couldn't I just leave it at my desk? Why did I have to lock it if I did leave it at my desk? Why did I have to lock my drawers? Why did I have to put in a password and go get a multi-factor authentication sent to my phone or put like a common access card in to open a machine? This is stupid. This is taking me 15 minutes. This is retarded. Why didn't I just pull? Yeah, I can say it. I'm an engineer. I can say it. But so and I mean stunted in growth. So I'm using it correctly. Why are we doing this thing? Because security, properly applied, allows us to go faster. Just like the brakes on your car, properly applied, allow you to go faster. Because think about this. How fast would you drive home right now if you weren't home and you were driving home? How fast would you go if you knew your brakes didn't work? 3, 5 miles an hour? I bet none of you would be going 25. You don't have any brakes in your car? So your security slows you down, much like your brakes do, but within reason. But it is the enemy of the productivity of getting home faster. Right, if that makes sense. So security is a trade-off between security and productivity. And the way it's commonly said for people is security is the enemy of productivity. I never said security was bad. I'm just telling you, you do have to trade things off. Use the truck runoffs to slow down. Yeah. All right. So, by the way, it looks like they're about 13 minutes out from starting that thing. They might be starting it. I don't see them down in there yet. But it says 13 minutes on the thing here. So if those guys are really starting, they're doing it soon. All right. So let's go look at the first one of these. So they give you a bunch of stuff. They give you a bunch of what the levels are. They talk about the different pieces. How you're acting with Nginx is going to affect certain things. And then they come down here and they say, here's some acknowledgments. And the first one is initial setup. Ensure Nginx is installed. Well, I mean, I guess. If you're going to run Nginx, the first thing would be to install it. So good. Is it going to be a web server? Is it going to be a proxy, meaning it does things on behalf of other things? Is it going to be a load balancer, which, by the way, is a reverse proxy? Right, a load balancer is just a reverse proxy. So that's a forward proxy and that's a reverse proxy. What's it going to do? And then you do Nginx. Boom. And then they say that it should only have a version of Nginx. So here's some remediation to make sure that it's there. And then how you install it. That is a Red Hat flavor. So Yum is Red Hat or DNF nowadays, right? And they give you some other information about how to install it. So the first rule of installing Nginx, first rule of running Nginx securely is installing Nginx. That's funny. Ensure Nginx is installed from source. This is not scored, meaning it's not required. But if you wanted to install it from source, here you go, and you would have to make sure that you did this execution. So if somebody is going to come around from your GRC, which is your governance, risk, and compliance team, and say, is Nginx properly installed from source? We have this requirement for 1.1.2 from a government in this project that we're doing. And then you would have to go prove that it was. Now, proving doesn't mean like you have to like look over here. Hold on. Nginx -v, and it's not. Oh God, I failed. Right? That's not what it is. It's typically validating that it is or isn't there, or is or isn't true, and then fixing it, remediating it, and then reporting that whatever it is fixed in whatever way. That tends to be. So when I use CIS benchmarks, it tends to be as an engineer building a new deployment of a container or a new deployment of a Linux. You know, if I have bare metal OS in an environment, and I build the first one to the CIS benchmarks, and that is what we call like a pre-baking. That's my pre-baking setup, and all that stuff is to get to a certain level. For a lot of those tools, I can define like with a kickstart file, and I can set all these things up so that now my systems always build the exact same way. That's all pre-baked. Then when the node comes up, and we use like Ansible or some other tool for what we call bootstrapping or personalization. Bootstrapping is the technical term, by the way. It's all the things that happen after the node comes up for the first time. I like to think of it as a term called personalization, but bootstrapping, personalization, I don't know, frosting the cupcake, whatever the hell you want to call it. You are putting that stuff on after, and some of my Ansible playbook, which tends to just do all of these things after, are going to adhere to these as well. Some things have to be pre-baked. Some things can be bootstrapped, but there's a trade-off between them. The more we pre-bake, the more rigid that image is, so we can't use it for a bunch of different stuff. So you're like, all right, well, I'll build a loose image that is able to be deployed for a bunch of things, and I say, okay, but hold on, then your personalization or your bootstrapping later as the node gets deployed takes longer. And if you're doing something like scaling up in a cloud instance, you're scaling out, really, scaling horizontally. That bootstrapping, all that time starts to cost you against your health check starting or whatever. It's the same thing with bringing up containers. If containers are going to have to do a lot to start, you need to add a longer initial startup check. What are those checks called? Startup check or whatever, right? You got to write that out. Immutable plus 12 factor can help separate config data and systems, so systems can be thrown away more easily. Yeah. We're always trying to get to immutable systems. I mean, there's a lot with people doing it. Did you say cash cow? What's the one that everybody's always pushing? NixOS. I got no problems with NixOS. I'm NixOS. I've got no problems with NixOS. The same reason I don't use Arch Linux is the same reason I don't use NixOS. Now hold on, full stop. It's not because I dislike Arch. I got no problems with Arch. Can anybody show me anybody running that in production anywhere? I'm not like saying that cheeky or trying to be a dickhead. I'm just saying, like, can any of you find anybody running that in a production environment? Is anybody running NixOS? I know the power of it. I think it's a very useful tool, but I'm just saying, like, when it comes to like professional Linux users group and like me getting people into the industry, I want guys doing stuff that is standard and accepted already. If you want to be a researcher, this is the same thing, man. Some of you guys know I'm doing my doctorate right now, and it's so weird. Like, if you want to do research stuff, well, first to get a doctorate, you literally just have to play this game that is so silly. You're like, oh man, I got to write exactly like this, and they're like, yes, that is the way that you must walk through this fire, and you're like, all right. Look, guys, I've done dumb shit in my life. I'm an infantry guy, right? I was an infantry guy when I was younger. I've done a lot of like walking through dumb shit that I don't think I have to, but I did it because I understand how to play the game. And the same thing with this doctorate. Where I'm going with that is it's the same way, like in an environment, like you know, I forget exactly what I was saying. Oh yeah, but if you want to run a lot of stuff and test, there's some places that you can go get into that, but probably not when you're starting out. When you're starting out, you probably should be like a Red Hat specialist or like a SUSE Linux specialist, or maybe even Ubuntu nowadays, because those are accepted by the U.S. government. You could find work in those fields. I don't think you're gonna. I mean, maybe very small niche Arch Linux somewhere, but I just don't think a lot of people are gonna start like that. So I try to tell you guys it's the same idea with like how I patch and how I do automation changes. I want to paint with a wide brush. I want to hit 98% of all use cases, and then I can work my edge cases out later, right? It's that Pareto's rule that we talk about often, where Pareto's rule is 80% of the outcomes come from 20% of the inputs, right? Or another way to say is the people that cause you problems are going to cause you more problems than the people that don't, right? What happened? Roland Seuss. Vaguely online. Yeah, wear my teeth. That's true. We do go. And I've shown you guys this before, but the software adoption curve and kind of what that looks like and that kind of stuff. All right. Anyway, so those are the question was asked earlier around how, what's a STIG, what's a CIS benchmark, and what's a PCI standard, and hopefully that kind of answered it for you guys. Let's go check on Ranger. How's Ranger doing? Also, that group should be starting here shortly. Let's see. Anybody down there? I don't see anybody down there yet. Time consuming to run almost AWS locally. Bot's still not talking to me. It's talking to you guys. It's not talking to me. Is it talking down here? He must have took the ask away. He must. I think he was working on the bot the other day, and he must have taken that away. So I was probably banned. That's funny. Yeah, if I ever like completely retire and never want to look at Linux again, I'm gonna turn the community over to Fisherman. He'll just wake up one day and find out that he's in charge of the ProLug group. We got a little over 3,000 people in there now. I think we're up to. We're not really doing a big deal until we hit 10,000, because I think 10,000 is a good number. But I remember we barely hit 1,000 in March. Right at the end of March, we hit 1,000, and then we just kind of started blowing up a little bit. And again, the whole reason for the group, get you guys in there talking with like-minded people. And my goal in all this, the reason I even bother going live on this, is to get you guys doing this stuff professionally, right? Find people that want to do this stuff and get into this work, and honestly, possibly change your whole trajectory of your career, So, yeah, that's funny that I probably got banned, but all right. By the way, I'm not seeing follows, so I apologize, guys, if I'm missing follows over on the Twitch side. I should be popping up with Ranger, but I don't know if it's not showing up. I guess we'll have to figure that out. Okay, what else are we doing? Again, we're not working too hard. I do need to see. Let me text the wife real quick, see if she's coming home even for a minute. Let's check real quick here. Are you or going straight? That stuff. All right. K8s versus OpenStack. I've never run OpenStack secret, so I couldn't speak to that. I know Kubernetes pretty well. I think Kubernetes is great for its use case. I think it's great for what it does, and a lot of people run it in production, and it's pretty solid for what it is. I'm just checking on the wife real quick, see what her plan is, because we normally do date night on Fridays, which it is Friday, guys, right? So we're getting on to the break, but getting on to a break if you don't work over the weekends, anyways. Most of you know I've worked like the last few weekends getting that training all done. Oh, I never told you guys. So people that were around when I was kind of co-working and heard me talking about it, I got to 256 total slides. I got to 36 labs. So 36 labs. I got to 38 pages of labs, but it was 36 total labs. So that's pretty good. I have 3 guest speakers coming in. I bought a bunch of connections to show the guys how to connect into the systems in the lab in case they haven't done it. I don't know how much. So we're the subcontractors on this bigger contract, and I don't know what the bigger contract showed when they brought all the stuff out there. So now I'm kind of like, well, I guess I'm going to show them everything. And if they've never seen something, I guess it's just going to be good. And then all the cables that I bring out there for them to connect, which it's kind of wild. If you've never seen a Dell, hold on. I think I might have closed it down. I feel like I did close it down. But there's like, let's say Dell. Let's go look at like a Dell. Oops, that was Ranger again. Let's say like XE8640. It doesn't really matter. One of Dell's devices. One of their switches. If you've never, it's the one that takes a long time. Some of these, they're. So I just want the PDF. Come on. I've seen people run OpenStack, but I haven't played with it. My brother runs OpenShift for a big company. Big insurance company in the US. My brother's their kind of lead. This is the one that takes too long. Hold on. Let's go Dell. Let's go look at like the Power Vault. And let's go see if this is about connecting. Yeah, so this is about connecting to these, and this isn't a great way to see this, but they show you how to get in and reset the controller if you need to, which I did have to do on one of these. But you have these interfaces that are kind of interesting in that you use a USB micro, not the mini, but the micro, to connect to the front of these. And it's kind of strange that, oh look, study group should be starting. Let's go look. Is it starting? Yeah, they're down there. So if any of you guys want to go jump down in there, they're down in there doing a study group on Proxmox. So that's, they're going to run through Proxmox for people. If anybody needs to get in the Discord, there's the Discord on the Twitch side, and hold on, there it is over on the YouTube side. So yeah, hey, maybe you've never been in a Discord that's ever done anything useful. Maybe that's the most useful thing you ever go do in a Discord. Go hop in there. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total people down there. Go hop in there, you know. All right. But anyways, these USB, the little USB micro connectors, they are a way to connect to the front of these that I don't think they're going to show here. But you can reset passwords and stuff on these, so, and then you can get in and you can look at them. This is for a very specific type of device that they show you how to connect. So here's a cable that you could use. This is the little mini cable as opposed to the micro. And there's, if you have a mini one, or I'm used to using the micro one, right? You could also connect in with a DB9 if you want to do serial. And then with that, you can go and you can connect over PuTTY as long as you're using the right ports. And the port, you go find the port in your PuTTY, and then you make sure you're at 15,200 for your baud rate. Gone are the days of a 9600 baud. That's how we used to connect, was 9600. Nope. So then this is how you do it in PuTTY. Like, it's super easy to do, right? Just connect over, and then now you've got this little connection in, and then you can, if you have the password, you can do things and change things. So here's the thing, right? A lot of times when we do systems work, we don't ever have to go that deep unless something breaks. So I tell you guys this a lot of times, like, we need to know how to get in there. We need to know how to open that up and go look in that compartment, as it were, if something's busted. But otherwise, you need to not mess with it. Doesn't beat Type 1 hypervisor security and flexibility. Yeah, Type 1 hypervisors are the standard for the industry, for like what we run in prod. What I tell people is a Type 2 hypervisor just doesn't have any business doing that type of work. Like, your production workflows should be on a Type 1 hypervisor. It's got a lower footprint for attack. It can be secured so much more easily, and it's a specialized type of operating system that just hosts its guests, right? But a Type 2 hypervisor, because like when I show this to my college students, they go, but then is a Type 2 hypervisor never used? No. A Type 2 hypervisor is used for our devs. So a developer, like if you came up to me and said, Scott, I'm a developer. I want to spin up I want to spin up a Rocky box real quick. I want to spin up a couple containers, and I want to spin up something else. I'd be like, man, that sounds like that would be really easy to do in a Type 2 hypervisor on your own machine. Get it all built up the way you want, and then we'll work on integrating it. This is one of the reasons why that workflow, the Type 2 to Type 1 hypervisor workflow, is part of what necessitated containers, because containers take away the, well, it worked on my machine. If a container works on an architecture, it should work on anything that you put it on. There are a few exceptions to that, mainly going between like Linux and Windows type stuff. So, yeah. Nothing beats Type 1. I agree with the Type 1 thing. I'd like to be 110 hardcore people working on this stuff, but I got uni full time. Yeah, sub, you're welcome to take as much time as you want to go through this stuff. Like, you're basically, like, if you're hanging out here, I would tell you guys, if you want to get serious about this stuff, leave the stream here and go hang out with these dudes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 people down there. Go hang out with them. They're doing serious stuff. I'm doing a little bit of serious stuff, but I'm doing stuff that I'm also easily distracted on. They're focusing on there, right? Software engineering can just be a hobby. Yeah, I'm an amateur software guy as much as I'm an amateur anything, right? Like, I tend to just tell people that I'm an amateur data scientist, because that's much more realistic. I work with real world data with real scientists. I just don't get paid for it, right? Like, I work with NOAA guys. I work with government guys on different stuff. That's not where, like, I don't show you guys that stuff a lot. Down the Discord I'll show it, but like, I don't show you guys that here because that's not what I do professionally. Building systems and maintaining Linux is all I do professionally, right? So, well, that and teach networking and Linux at the college, which I also do, but that's a little bit different. All right, let's turn that back on. Let's go check on Ranger. That dog, man, he looks like he's so sad, but I assure you guys, he's fine. I'm missing stuff, but hopefully everything's working for you guys. All right. Barry, we were talking about the other day, Fortran is still huge. And all the downstream satellite stuff I've done, and all of the NOAA stuff that I've done, which is National Oceanographic Atmospheric Agency for people that don't know, Fortran is still there's a distinction that Fortran still holds till today that people don't probably know unless you've heard me say it before. Over all other programming language, Fortran has one place where they're still beat. Yeah, modern IBM mainframes are still going. I used to run some of those a few years back for companies, yeah. But does anybody know where Fortran is still not yet beaten by any programming language? There's no programming language that does one thing that Fortran does. I don't know why, because it seems like nowadays, like, somebody would just build a niche one or a niche one to beat it in that one area. That, yeah, satellites. Yeah, wear my teeth. I did a lot with satellites in my career, working for Lockheed. Yep, mostly downstream of their data. I didn't deal with the trajectories and the rockets and stuff, but the downstream from satellites, I've done a lot of that. All right. Let me see. Oh. Excuse me. Let's find. Let's see. The wife's offering me some food when she comes home, so I got to figure out what I want. All right. With a boba straw? Where are my teeth? That's funny. 1. 2, I've never had anybody offer me to do anything crazy for tier 1 subs or anything like that. But no, I probably wouldn't. It'd probably kill me. I think I'm up to, I for sure had 2 today. I might have had a third one, but... Oh, no, Daft Duck, you didn't miss it. Fortran is the most precise floating point operations for variables still to this day. They are the most precise. Yeah, no, I didn't say it. That's what it is. You can go look that up. There's nothing out there that's being run that's knocked it off the most precise floating precision for variables. So they have the most float. I don't know exactly how many digits it is. I think it's in the hundreds, but I might be wrong. But it's more precise. I know guys who design antennas that still use Fortran for that reason. And then satellites and weather use it as well. So those are 3 use cases where I know Fortran is still better than anything else on planet Earth. So yeah, that's one of the only things that I know about that. As far as like why people still use it, and I still currently have, like, I could show you guys my NOAA ID. I still work with NOAA as a contractor when they need me, mostly on their high performance compute clusters that are still up, mostly on their Ansible stuff, if we're being honest. But I do support. By the way, I haven't even shown you guys this lately. Look, watch this. Look, so some of you guys go, oh, Scott, like what's useful, like. You talk about being an amateur data scientist. Can you help me get into that? Did you guys know that there are all the free seminars you could ever want? This is library.noaa.gov. There are free seminars all the time. What's today? We're past the 23rd, so that one's gone. But I think you can go watch them later. November 5th, they're going to walk through how you do research computing. Did you guys know that you can go pull data from NOAA whenever you wanted? There's a whole free tier of data. There's also government data that gets pulled as well. Yeah. Yeah. So there's, Look, implementation of citizen science. They want citizens, because here's the thing, and like, you guys might not believe this at face value, but please go look it up. The U.S. government found out long ago that 1 or 2 people that are doing citizen science, as they call it, are going to produce more results than a group full of actual scientists that are being paid in a room to do it. They've found that the amateur in sports, when we say an amateur, we mean somebody who's not as good as a pro. That is not true in science. The amateur scientists come up with some of the most interesting things. So anyways, the reason there's so many programs like this designed to get you in to doing this stuff, like you want to understand manuscripts, revisiting, versioning, copyright, and licensing, they want you to get better at this. This one was yesterday, so, well, you missed that one. But anyways, my point is there's a bunch of stuff out there for you guys. All right. I'm constantly telling you guys that there's like all kinds of ways to get into any of these things that are interesting to you before you ever pay. In fact, I tell this story sometimes. I was talking about this the other day on stream. I've had college students, we'll be in like a network like 260. Network 260 is like Cisco. Basically, it's like a Cisco 1.2. And I'm teaching them how to get into a Cisco device. And when you get into a Cisco device, there's a very certain like set of steps you want to do, and then there's things you have to do, right? So things that you have to do are you come in user exec mode with the little greater than sign, and then you say enable to move up, and then if you have an enable password set to become the root user, as it were, because it's all Linux under the hood, you say enable or en, and you become a privileged user, and then you see your username and a pound sign, which is privilege exec, and then from there you go over to global configuration mode with like configure terminal or config t or conf t, whatever you want. Oh, hold on, my thing broke. Whenever these things break, I gotta. What happened? The thing got tired of listening to me. Oh, let me get that back behind these other things. All right. My talking is back. Oh, where was I going with that? Anyways, something. I forgot, but it was busted. What was I talking about? Somebody help me out here. I've lost the thread. Yeah, where are my teeth? I couldn't slam a monster right now. It'd probably kill me. What was the I lost the thread, guys. The thread has been dropped on the floor because that thing was busted. I just need to Cisco. Yeah, Cisco. So you have to move through these levels of Cisco to do these different commands, and commands don't work in the wrong context. So if you're a user, you can do show commands, but you can't do configuration commands. If you've moved up, if you've escalated your privilege to a privileged exec mode, you can't do configurations until you drop into global configuration. Then from global configuration, you drop into like sub interface modes and different modes, right? So there's all this stuff. And where I'm going with that is I've had students come to me. Yeah, we were talking about my students. And my students come to me and they go, I hate this. Like, I'm like, well, I mean, it's obvious that you hate this. You haven't been turning stuff in. But they're like, no, I hate this. And I've told students this. I'm like, I hate that you made it this far into college. Like, you're in you're basically in your second year of college in a 260 course. You've been doing it, maybe a little less in my college because we move people along pretty quick, but you're in pretty far to be finding out now that you hate the job, because when you get out in the industry, this is the job. Like, I would tell you guys, if you came and hung out with me for a little bit and then you said, hey Scott, that Linux stuff, that command line stuff, that sucks, I don't want anything to do with that, and I'd go, well, I guess this is the best free advice you ever got then. Don't go be a Linux systems administrator. Go be a Linux engineer, because you will not. You found out for free that you hated it. Other people spent their whole time in college to find out they hated something. I have one of my brother-in-laws. I have a few brother-in-laws, but so my wife's brother, her youngest brother, he finished his chemical engineering degree a few years back. And I congratulated him. We were at his graduation and congratulated him. We were doing like a party and stuff. And I said, so when are you gonna start looking for work in chemical engineering? Are you interested? When are you gonna? He goes, I never want to work in chemical engineering again. And I'm like that little like meme where he's like I don't understand. Like, what do you mean you hate chemical engineering? He goes, I never want to do chemical engineering again. He went through one of the like hardest. So ASU, Arizona State University, has a really good engineering school, and he went through that school. I wouldn't say they're like top 10 prestigious in the world, but they're pretty good. They're probably top 100 if I had to guess in the world of engineering schools. They're pretty well known. They put good rigor into their students, and he knows the stuff, but he hates it. So it's like, I don't know. Like, is that what any of you guys? I mean. Wouldn't you rather find out like here for free when you're just hanging out with me that you hate this stuff? Because I would rather have done that. Like, I told you guys, I did networking and I did networking for a few years and I just didn't love it. Had my CCNA, did all that crap early on. I got my CCNA 22 years ago. Did networking, and then I was like, I'll go do something else. I'll go do systems like Linux stuff. And then that's how I got into Linux. So yeah. Exactly. If you don't want to work at an endpoint, don't spend money or do work to get there. Yeah. So I tell people all the time, like, hanging out here, if you like went and did one of my labs, which are free down in Discord, there's a whole bunch of them, and you said, ooh, like you're that guy going, ooh, brother, ooh, I probably just saved you a bunch of money then. Because even if you were wasting money on Udemy courses, or you were just going on Humble Bundle and buying book bundles every day for that one day that you decide to sit down and study it. But honestly, look, guys, if you look at this stuff and you're like, I hate it. I just hate it. I hate that little octothorpe sitting there looking at me. You guys know that's what the pound sign is, right? It's an octothorpe. Not the number sign, it's an octothorpe. And, yeah, look at that little smug octothorpe. I have all the power in the world right there. I could reboot everything in the cluster from right here. But, like... I hate it, though. I hate that I have to hold it all in my head and think about what I'm doing. Some people don't like that. So it is a machine. It'll be, yeah, you have absolute power here. I've told my wife this before, and like, I hope, like, sometimes when people are like, oh, this and this and this, they talk about self-harm or something. You're like, oh, that's a joke you don't make. I'm gonna make a joke here, and I'm gonna emphasize that this is a joke. But I've told this to my wife before and said, hey, when I worked for a company, like when I worked at AAA back in the day, long ago, I had the power to shut everything in the company down with one. I could do it with one command, one Ansible command. In fact, I know a guy who almost accidentally shut the whole company down one day. Where my point is those intrusive type thoughts, like you're like, man, I have the power. I told her, I said, you would have heard about us on the news today if I pressed one button one time. That's a lot of freaking power for some people to have. A lot of people don't want that. Like, I tell people, like, you're like assuming the mantle. Like, they're coming and putting the robe over you of all the power of the company if you have root somewhere. Electrical engineering, computer science, yeah. I think electrical engineering is fun. I tell people all the time, like, I'm convinced all engineers eventually at some point want to go back to electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. Because, I mean, look at all the engineers you know that go and dabble around with these little guys, right? We all got a little Raspberry Pi sitting around somewhere. I got one sitting back there doing Kali in my environment, keeping track of all the wireless and stuff, right? And, like, I don't pull him up very often, but that's Kali. Dumb thing. Anyways, but, like, and how many guys do you know that do 3D printing and stuff? Engineers? A lot of them. You'll find engineers do a lot of things that take like a lot of steps. Like I know probably more than 10 engineers that brew. You say brew? Yeah, brew beer or brew whatever, and they love getting everything right and then putting it in a bag for, you know, a few weeks in there, you know, hang it in a closet or something somewhere while it ferments up and turns into a beer of some type, and then they can taste it and go, no, that's not right, and then they change some little thing. And that's like I have quite a few friends that are engineers that do that. Do some type of woodworking or making, as people like to call it. Definitely 3D printing. We have a whole bunch of engineers I know that do 3D printing. And my point is, like, mechanical and like electrical engineering, I think all. But I tell people like Linux is kind of like the piano of engineering in that everybody kind of goes back to it. Like Linux is a great thing as a daily driver to get you to all these different types of open source tools. Trying to avoid have a root, yeah. Drop priv and makes yeah, and then there's a whole bunch with that around like rule of least privilege and like not being root. Oh, hold on a second. Let me answer this call from wifey. Hold on. All right, you guys are back. I could have just probably talked on there. We brewed a red Irish pale in our house in college. Nice. Yeah, Bear, I think engineers love that. Speaking of like a brewing or something like that, has anybody here ever think about this? And this will also probably answer why a lot of engineers like brewing, because I described that process to you. Have you guys ever thought about what the difference between like baking and cooking are? There's two different things, but they're. And it's not just that baking is, you know, a convection type oven. That's not the real difference. But what's the difference between baking something and cooking something? You guys think about that. This is an engineering question, and it's part of the reason I think a lot of engineers like, not necessarily the baking, although some do. I have friends that do quite a bit with baking, and they're very engineers about it. They keep track of stuff and everything, but the brewing for sure. But what's the difference? Hides my modded MK3S. MMA with Octoprint. Yeah. I love it. Sorry, the wife's messaging me, so. Baking is a specific type of cooking that uses dry heat in an oven to exchange compost. That is a truth about it. But what if I told you there's a different thing that actually has to do with like automation? Think about when I automate something, right? When I'm first cooking up what I'm gonna do, that's cooking. And then when I actually launch it to all the places, that's baking. And what do I mean by that? Dang robot Adams. Yeah. So let me explain the difference. In cooking, let's say you're cooking some chili. You can add ingredients from start to finish. You could be like, oh, this needs a little more salt. This I need a little more tomato juice, a little more kidney beans, a little more. My mom mashes up kidney beans and then puts whole ones in, so it's like thickens up the chili. I can add or remove or do whatever, right? But baking is a single shot. You better have everything right when you put it in the oven, because nothing can be added or removed after the recipe has been set. And that's exactly how systems work. When I go to send something, when I go to launch something to all 19 of these nodes, that is baking, because I no longer have a chance to change things. My recipe had better be correct. But cooking, you know, I can change things rapidly. I can kind of mod something up. I can proof of concept it. I can needs a little more ginger. I don't know if you like ginger, but I don't really like ginger. But any of these things, right? You can add or remove them. Oh, it needs a little more. Typically spices. Any of you guys ever seen how people cook chili? Oh, I'm gonna get myself in trouble because people are fanatical about how they cook chili. But like you do the first drop, the second drop, the third drop. You're adding stuff as you go, and they're all very precise. That is not, that is not the same as baking. Baking is a single fucking shot. Remember back when you used to buy a Nintendo cartridge? You bought like The Legend of Zelda, the original game. There were no software updates for that. That was a baked-in sent product. Nowadays they sell games and then they release games that aren't even finished yet, and then they just keep cooking on them. They're like, it needs a little bit more of this, it needs a little more of that, and they're always sending updates through Steam and stuff, and you're like, God damn it, stop updating the effing game, you know? Yeah, some cooking is like baking. Yeah, so anyways, that's my arbitrary. I don't do either of them, but that's my arbitrary thing, and I use that to explain to people how we set things up matters. Can I make a change on the fly or not? And if I make a change on the fly, do I have to go back and fix it? This is also a big part of like what I call redlining, which is the common practice in engineering. We redline documents, and when I build stuff, like when I build a server, and then I go through all my steps and I make sure they're right. If anything's busted, I fix my stuff and I tear that server down and rebuild it from my eventually going to be an automation. But it's at first it's just a again, it's like cooking at first. I can taste and see what I want and make things good or bad and check and whatever. But then when I go to bake it out and send it to everywhere, it's got to be right. You can't think about sending out like a finished product. It's got to be correct. So yeah, you do. That's what I knew as soon as I said something about chili. You got to watch chili, because people that cook chili, they are serious about how they cook chili. And the 3 drops, I've heard of 7 drop chili. So people will drop, like, I'm telling you guys, they'll have all the meat cooked, they'll drop it in there, they'll do all their stuff, then they'll do their first spice drop, and then their third, and they'll go all the way up to 7 spice drops every few hours to get the perfect taste and texture. And you're like, there's some precision in that too. I'm not saying that's not as precise. I'm just saying a bake is a single shot. You put it in the oven and you go look at it, and if you're too loud, the thing, souffle falls down or whatever, which I think is kind of funny. Oh look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're down there talking about Proxmox. So if you guys want to go hang out down there, you guys are all welcome. All right. Where am I at? I'm at over 3 hours, man. The wife's coming home, but then she's going to take off. She's going to take off for the night, so then I'll be streaming more. Let me get I've got that up. Let me pull up my 2. We'll go to Unit 6. Go to Unit 7. Let's start updating our Linux, our stuff for 7. So we'll get this out of the way here. Unit 7. By the way, I tell you guys all the time, I don't care if you guys know who I am. I'm a real person. You could find me online if you wanted to. This is the 7th class meeting. Anybody know why I did it like that instead of the other way? We're up to 207 now, people. Let's say they want to do the course. We got to change these around. We got to turn this to last week. So now this is last week. We talked about firewalls, and we talked about firewalls. So once you fix the firewall, then you have to explain the difference between web application firewall and firewalls to your management. Still doing your final project stuff. This is going to change to this week. And I'm going to start doing discussion 7 stuff. So you guys are going to be working on, you guys are going to be working on software updates this week. So by the way, for people that are not familiar, we've got a Linux Systems Administration course that I've been making for you guys. It's run out of the Discord. It's free. But since I'm training next week in Hawaii, I'm giving training next week in Hawaii. We are going to I'm going to release 7 and 8 tomorrow. And then we're going to talk about it in the group. And then I'm going to have to miss the next Saturday. So I'm still going to try to get a guest speaker to come talk with you guys, though, as well. Yeah, some spices are best added at the end. Yeah, yeah, 100%. You know, speaking of food, you know what's happened to me recently that I did not ever think was going to be like a thing. Nothing that I ever thought was going to be good. Um, you know, people talk about like hot and cold together. I never like I've never liked like a warm brownie with like cold ice cream. I always thought that was weird. You know, whatever. But I've actually been liking my wife will get blizzards, and blizzards are cold, right? Like a blizzard from DQ, and then any type of like hot type food, and I'll eat the hot food and then eat some of the blizzard, and then eat. And I never would have thought that that would have been like a type of contrast that I enjoyed. It's like I would have when I was younger, I'd been like eat all the hot stuff, then eat or drink the cold stuff after. Like what's this mixing? I mean, maybe you drink a drink or something, but I'm saying like that never really mattered to me. But like I've actually been thinking that's pretty good lately. But maybe it's just because I get to eat a blizzard with dinner. But I'm just kidding. All right, so last week we did no hop environments and firewalls, so we got to update all this stuff. And then let me go grab. I'm also going to grab my unit. So let's get this out of the way. This is Unit 7. We'll go grab Unit 8 as well. Unit 8, we're going to do the same crap too. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait on Unit 8 because Unit 7, when it's done, it'll make more sense for me to copy it over and then be able to flip this stuff. So I'm gonna get rid of Unit 8. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure it doesn't exist. Yeah, because then that'll remind me like I can pull this up later. All right, so we'll do all that stuff. Affogato is good stuff. Nice. Yeah, I don't even know what that is, but that's probably what that is. But I never would have thought that I would like that as much. What's tomorrow? The 26th? 26. So this one and Unit 7 will be done together. By the way, one of the guys talking down in the Discord right now is the one that made this really nice little template for us. So, because I was just using my general templates, and he made this stuff a lot better. So let's go. We're gonna look at what the lab tasks are for this week. Let me go look at, I've got to go pull up, in our old Linux group, we have an old Linux users group thing that I used to run, and this was patching security and package management, and we're going to enable editing. We're going to pull this old one out of here, right, and we're going to call that prolog. Also, I prefer it to say lug like that. And that's just the professional Linux users group. And then we're going to just insert a picture from this device. And I wonder if it'll be, nope, it's not in the right spot. So we have to go find our Linux stuff. It's always a hassle. Linux group, streaming, images, prolog. I think it's this one. Oh, too big. That's good. This is going to be Rocky server. And it's Rocky 9 nowadays. So we'll update that. And then we're going to file save as. And we're going to move it to this place here. Up in Linux group. Linux Systems Administration. And it's going to be Unit 7. And we're going to call it prolog. I think we're just going to call it Unit 7. There we go. Boom. All right. Zoom in a little bit. I think I make them do... Oh, yeah. Let's see if we need to test this to make sure it works in this environment. So I have to pull up what I tend to do for that is I'll pull up my Rocky environment. And I didn't show you guys all these earlier, but like, so you got wwctl node or nodes, I think still works. Yep. And then you've got, so the nodes are defined in containers. So you can see the containers that I got in my environment. And wwctl, and then I've got like overlay list. I can see the overlays that exist. And wwctl kernel list, and there's all these things, but the kernels are not applied to any nodes. And then if I want to go see like on the nodes, if I want to know like how my nodes are set up, I can say, let's say www node list -a, and then let's just say Rocky1. We just want to see Rocky1 information, and that'll look like that. Made it a little bigger so we can see, and it gives us information. We could also set very specific individual tags if we want in Werewolf, and then that's going to determine how it works. Oh, we got asked about iPixie earlier. We're using Drakut, and then root is init ramfs. That's how our root file system boots, and you can see that on the node that is ramfs. If you go to like Rocky1, you just do like a df-h, and you'll see. Oh, it's tempfs in here, yeah. So tempfs means things are not stored locally; they are part of just the image. They're stored in the RAM. And then we've got in the environment, we've got some Samba NFS that's mounted, and then we can go look at that NFS. That's how I did yesterday. Sorry, the wife asked me to bring. We had. Yeah. Okay. Oh, so anyway, so when I do these labs, when I check them out for you guys, some of you guys have been around and done some of these. Some of you have not. Oh, guys, the wife's here. All right. I'm gonna say, I gotta take a break real quick. Let's put this on right there. I can answer that for money. No, I'm just kidding. Let's put up my hourglass. And I'll just say that I'm on a quick break here. Just a quick break. Join Discord. And we'll say 15 minutes because I'll be back up here shortly, all right? Let me know if anybody needs anything. Message me down in Discord if you guys want. Maybe I'll get rid of that one and I'll do this one instead. Just a guy who's a hero for fun. All right, I'll be back. You guys hang out. One of you's in charge. I don't know who's in charge. One of you's in charge. So I get back. Still on break for 5 more minutes. All right, I'm back. I got snacks and get rid of. Hold on. You get all settled in here. Get rid of all that. All right, break's over. I'm just kidding. You guys can have more break if you want. So, let's go see what we got in the environment. Oh, good God! If I could put my hands. So one of you guys, excuse me, excuse me. Some of you guys have been around when we were looking for keyboards. I need some ideas. DNF, RPM stuff exists in the Fedora. Yeah. What am I missing here? Yeah. What did I miss here? I don't know the context to all that. Yeah. I'm pretty familiar with how to use DNF and RPM, but no, we had a bunch of keyboards we were looking at the other day because you guys are always recommending new keyboards to me. I have rubbed the F key off of my keyboard. I don't know how, but the F key, the nub, I can't find it with my left hand anymore. So I need to get a new keyboard because I use J and F to find home row, obviously, all the time. Yeah. All right. So where are we at? Let's clean this up. Let's clean this up in the lab here. So all these things will work. That's just RPM QA for BC. And I don't have the BC in there. So DNF install BC. Now, there's a difference between a stateless image and an immutable image, and I've talked about them before. But stateful images or stateless images can be changed. But then when you reboot the machine, it's like a little trap door, and it comes back up clean again. So a stateless image can still be changed. It's just not going to exist past the state change of going down. So the reason I bring that up is because I don't want anybody to think like, oh, hey, in these lab devices, they're immutable, so I can't actually do any patching on it, or I can't update things on the lab. You can absolutely update things on the lab. And then if you come to a lab device and somebody's already done work on it, you can reboot it and go back in, and it'll be a clean device for you. So that's kind of the way I built these labs, is so that you guys can kind of do whatever you want in there, right? And then just wipe the machine and come back up to a clean machine. All right, let's go ahead and say for I in sequence 1 to 5, and then we'll do free-m grep-i mem, and then let's just do that one with the done, of course. That's just going to do a whole bunch of those, and then we can print 3 if we want to just see the third value across 1, 2, 3. So awk print $3. That's column, right? And it'll just show me those. So 1, 2, 3. That doesn't seem right to me. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Unless that's changing. God fucking damn it. My hand's just not in the right spot on my left side anymore. I need a new one of these. 2, 3. Oh, that is the third one. Okay. I was like wondering why it wasn't in the right one. Yeah, so there we go. Alright, so we got that. That's fine. So now that if we have BC, we should be able to echo a bunch of numbers into there, right? Let's just go 7. It doesn't really matter. We'll do the ones that we have here. And then we can divide those by 5 and pipe that through BC. And it should give us the average of those, and then we can go change one to make sure that it actually changes correctly. Yeah, okay. So the reason I have them do that is because that's not, you can't get precision out of bash, but you can get precision out of BC. So that's what the heck does BC stand for? I thought it used to stand for something calculator, but we can just read it. Arbitrary precision calculator language. So it doesn't stand for anything apparently. But you can change, so you can change the level of precision you want within this, and you can change the way that it actually does different math, and there's different math libraries and stuff like that. Yeah, I just need, for some reason F is completely worn off and it's been wreaking havoc on my typing. So, and again, like, you game on WAS and D, so I don't even understand where the other thing would go. So there's some information there. So I'm gonna have them log into their Rocky server, become root. So RPM, we're gonna have them do RPM QI on systemd to see a bunch of information about it. Then we can look for very specific packages. QA will give you all of them. QA kernel will show you everything about the kernel. And it might surprise some of you that, like here, we have kernel modules, kernel core, and kernel modules, but we don't have the kernel headers right here. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a cheap keyboard, but we don't have the kernel headers here. So you might say, well, what does that matter? Sometimes when we compile things against the kernel, we need the headers and the kernel-devel. We don't have those. Kernel-devel, which is like the development stuff for the headers. And if you don't have those, you won't be able to compile and build in certain packages and things that you need if you're doing high-performance compute stuff, specifically around InfiniBand for sure. Sometimes around NVIDIA drivers and those kind of things. You'll have some just weird stuff. Yeah, I got the QL down here. So QI gives you some good information about it. RPM-QL systemd will tell you all of the files that are getting updated if you update or remove this. These are all the files that are part of this package. So I explain this to people relatively often, but I'm going to explain it to you guys now. If you have something down in Etsy systemd system, and it's not one of these, so you build your own stuff down there, it typically won't get changed with a new version of a package. But If you see anything in here, and you have mucked around in changing like your basic target wants file, like if you've changed this file in some way, let's say I have changed whatever this file, whatever that file is, if it was there, and I've modified it in some way, you need to know anything on this list is fair game to change. So that's an important thing. Like as an administrator and as an engineer, I need to know what, because package managers do a lot of stuff, guys, and they ask you, hey, do you want me to do all this other stuff over here? And most of the time you're just like, yes, 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 yes. But not if you're like really controlling your environment. You're going to do that down in a lower environment in a build box that you can just destroy and bring back up to your baseline. And you're going to verify what other shit changed. You know, what other stuff has this thing touched that I care about? Because if it's changing things, I mean, there's no better way to put it that I can think of than just turn it off. Like Network Manager, we were talking about this the other day. Network Manager is probably great for some people. I have never in 20-something years run Network Manager professionally. I turn that shit off on every system. And they're like, oh, but in Rel 9, they really, really, really want you to run Network Manager. Nope, I won't do it. There's only one system I've ever professionally run that has Network Manager on that I didn't touch, and that's what's called the Bright Cluster. The Bright Cluster controls its own networking, so I didn't touch it. You can't even go in there and change like an interface. If you do something like that, you will break Bright, and it will not work with that node anymore. And I know that for sure because I did that quite a bit. That's kind of a funny thing to play with. Anyways, let's do RPM-Q capital R systemd. Here's the capabilities that this needs for systemd to start. These are the things that have to be there, right? And then we can see changelog. So reading a changelog is if you're closely following a thing, which I am not closely following systemd. But if I were, because in my environment I wanted to update things, I can go see what's been added or removed in recent versions of kind of whatever's going on. Yeah, never double manage system resources if you can avoid it, for sure. All right. So there's a bunch of things that were added or removed, and you can see them, and you can see when they were added, and you can go find out more information about those changes, right? So reading change logs is kind of big. Some of you probably got into reading change logs. Some people get into reading change logs because they like to do games. And as I was talking about earlier, these games are constantly being released when they're not done, and then you know, in the releasing of them when they're not done, you find out that they're going to keep patching them and updating them, and then they'll release. Some people call these the patch notes, right? The patch notes of what's different in here, and what this cues you, if you're coding with this, what things are going to be different in your systemd. So let's go look at this. What are some of the oldest entries? What are some of the newest ones? Is there an update for systemd? I don't know in this environment if there is. Yum. So we can say dnf dash. We'll just say install update systemd. Does my system think there's a newer version of systemd out there? There is. There is. Okay, and I can compare that to the version I'm on, and I can see. No, sorry. RPM-QI systemd, right? And I can see, okay, we're on this version, 32.el9, and I want to go to, so we're on 252.32 el9.4, and this is 4.7. So that is a pretty low version change. So there's probably nothing significant. That's definitely not a major, a minor. Typically you've got major and then minor, and then you've got patch, right? It's a major, minor, patch typically. And you can go look those up if you ever want in Semver. Semver.org is your semantic versioning, which you kind of want to know about if you're going to be a systems guy. Although I tell you guys, like 10 years ago even, I didn't care about semantic versioning, but as they've moved more and more of my stuff into like a DevOps type thing, yeah, I'm still a platform engineer, I'm still doing Linux systems engineering, but it's I'm pushing code up to Git. Who the hell thought I was ever going to be doing that? for the longest time, my career has almost been like, I mean, it's almost like a joke for me to like just be the guy in the server room that nobody cares what I'm doing and nobody knows what I'm doing. As long as the stuff keeps working, they never ask me, right? And that's kind of the way that works on the system side. So Grubby is not really a new tool anymore, but we're going to use it. I hadn't used it before Rel 7, so Grubby's there, but I don't think it's going to really work for us here. And that's well, fix that out of there. Let's leave that there for now. So we don't have, so let's just do DNF install Grubby. We'll put Grubby on here, although I'm not 100% sure. We're not going to have Grub installed, so these aren't going to work. So we can see help with Grubby, and we can do check the default kernel. Yeah. So we don't have a default Grubby kernel, so I can't actually have them do any of these. Yeah, that's all going away. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move them to DNF, although they can still do the yum command. So maybe I'll just say in all cases do that instead if they want. We're gonna have to change the CentOS base repo. We're gonna make them change the repos here. So that'll be fine. Disable base. All these should work. That should be fine, but we're gonna change the base repo. Add CTDB if you wanted to have the CT database, which is mirroring 2 disks, right? We can yum, add, remove, add some stuff. Checking individual stuff, varcache yum. It's gonna be varcache DNF on these. Yeah, it's DNF now. So, and then in here, we can still keep the, I guess they don't have the x86 anymore. They normally have the architecture. That's fine. Alright. I'm just gonna have to go through and change yum to DNF all through that doc. Yeah, systemd's giving you a hard time, yeah. Yeah, systemd's definitely a thing. It's definitely its own little thing, that's for sure. Alright, I'm gonna have to probably look to change a lot of these. Maybe modify the way that they kind of work here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on these a little bit. I'm gonna maybe hang out and relax a little bit offline. And then I think I'm going to hop back on in a few hours and we'll keep working on stuff. I do have to work on my doctorate a little bit, so maybe if you guys want to hang out, I don't know, sometimes people like to hang out and do that with me. Although, again, the whole reason we do any of this is to tell you guys about the professional Linux users group, which you guys are welcome to go hang out with and do all that stuff. So let's go find somebody to raid. I was just going to hang out for a little bit, but I just feel like I'll just get back on streaming here in a little bit, and then we'll get back to it. So let's go find somebody, maybe on the Twitch side. Looks like Rob's on. We'll go hit Rob up. So I appreciate you guys coming by, and I will talk to some of you guys later on tonight, and even more of you probably tomorrow when we do our Unit 7 and Unit 8 recording. So thanks for coming by, you guys. Take care.